with. Uh-oh.
Discord wants your government ID, and it wants it just in time for a rumored IPO, just in time to increase shareholder value by having additional marketable information attached to your chat app profile that you may be using through an exe that's installed.
Just as a quick thing, okay, because everybody's obsessed with now. It's like, that is like the hot button object to talk about on the internet. Man, people love the discourse. What are the alternative suggestions for all these people that virtue signal over the so much? What is their alternative? Maybe he gives one in this video. I guess we'll find out.
On your Windows desktop computer that is at some level capable of monitoring the processes that are running on that computer. Discord says it wants to launch a teens by default mode for Discord, the chat application. The press release stated, quote, Discord users can choose to use facial age estimation or submit a form of identification to its vendor partners with more options coming in the future, end quote. So good, more options. Maybe they'll add fingerprinting next or rectum scanning. Wait, no, that's retina scanning. Retina. It says retina. Although, I do now have a new idea for a new technology I can sell to the corporate ass kissers. So, the language is pretty clear. You either scan your face, or you upload an ID. And if you don't want to do one of those, then get fucked, basically. And that is the way the internet's going. In general, Discord is just the newest part of that. And unfortunately, it is one that has come in and displaced forums in a way where it was already troublesome. You can't find information you used to be able to just search the internet for. It's become a mainstay for a lot of people. And now it's come time for Discord to cash in on the power it's collected. It's trying to tie identities to accounts so that it has verified users, which is useful for a lot of things. But in particular,
Vosh is centrist, build a bridge. You can fix the well test stuff by talking about raising a floor. I will never, ever, ever make the mistake of investing time into people whose entire communities call me a pedophile rapist, largely because of lies that they've spread about me. That bridge is always possible to be rebuilt, but if he's not even willing to make the first effort to do it, then why the fuck would I ever even waste a microsecond of time trying to show charity or doing the other thing? It should be the easiest ask in the world to say, hey, you should correct the record about the massive amounts of blatant misinformation you would spread to your community about me. Because it's not on accident. It's not random chance that his community has those opinions about me. If they can't even do that, it's not even worth the effort.
Acquisitions, selling, and marketable data. And no matter what Discord says they will or won't do with your data today, the minute they sell it to a company like Microsoft, which has been rumored in the past, is when none of that matters anymore. Because we all know that companies like Microsoft really wouldn't mind spending a couple million in a settlement now to make several billion in profits later. The good news is that Discord would never publish anything saying that it has identified exposing approximately 70,000 users' information containing government ID photos. Quote, we have identified approximately 70,000 users that may have had government ID photos exposed, which our vendor used to review age-related appeals, end quote. Okay, that's different, especially in light of the recent data breach. This is Discord's most aggressive identity-related play yet. The discourse around Discord hasn't been positive, and it's worse for Discord that they pissed off the gaming community. Quote, rest in piss, Discord. It was good while it lasted, but it's finally time for Discord to die, end quote. And quote, yeah, that'll be a no from me, dog, end quote. There's one more disturbing link in all of this, and it's this guy, Peter Thiel, who's a living embodiment of weird links, including what we think is a strong one to this guy, Jeffrey Epstein, mostly due to financial agreements. Thiel also has deep links within the US government, as we've discussed. As Thiel relates to Discord, it's a four-step process. The age assurance note from Discord on its official announcement.
Do you think a better option would be a government-operated age authorization system, maybe with low data retention of the specific services people access? Personally, yeah. There's already a website. Is it fedid.gov or something? Like, the federal government has some kind of weird ID system, but ideally being able to do that and like OAuth into things would be nice. But obviously there's going to be a whole plethora of issues related to the government having central ID. There's literally reasons for every single political movement to take issue with this. Republicans will hate it because they don't want a large central government tracking them everywhere. They'll feel like big government is looking at everything they're doing. They might think that the Democrats would use it to control who gets to own guns or not. Democrats might not like it because they think that Republicans will use it to, send ICE to Hispanic communities to bully people or to do some kind of authoritarian deep state lockdown on Antifa or whatever. Minorities might not like it because they have bad experiences in the past of the government being able to mass track and surveil them. Like, political parties might there's so many reasons why everybody would be politically opposed to that idea. But I wouldn't necessarily be opposed to it. The idea of there just being like a government ID system, and then you could just OAuth from that to everything else, and it's just one centralized thing based on your ID, and it's literally the government's website. So I mean, it's as reliable as your federal ID is. Ideally, that site would be as reliable as that is,
Announcement states, quote, important, if you're located in the UK, you may be part of an experiment where your information will be processed by an age assurance vendor, Persona. The information you submit will be temporarily stored for up to 7 days, then deleted. For ID document verification, all details are blurred except your photo and date of birth. So only what's truly needed for age verification is used, end quote. Wow, thanks, Discord. That is important.
Thanks, Eve.
Discord doesn't define what the experiment is, just that they're doing one. Persona might sound familiar to those who've watched our other videos in the series. The company is an identity verification tool producer that is used not only by Reddit, but which also received $200 million from the Founders Fund and appears appears to be in use by Discord now. The Founders Fund is a venture capital group that Peter Thiel runs. Peter Thiel is also a co-founder in the global surveillance apparatus Palantir. Wikipedia states, quote, an investment firm co-founded by Thiel accepted $40 million from Epstein, and the pair corresponded for at least 5 years before Epstein's death.
You are a Fed avoiding this. You always fail to mention the massive spying our government does through corporate partners. Apple, Microsoft, Verizon, AT&T, and others were directly supplying data secretly. It's not a fake conspiracy. Okay, let me clarify my position, all right? If the statement is, I think that the government engages on like pretty widespread citizen surveillance using private apps or whatever, yeah, I'm pretty sure they do. I don't even know if I would call that an open secret. I think most people acknowledge that the government can pull information from a lot of these different platforms, sometimes with subpoenas, sometimes without subpoenas. My claim more specifically was that people would avoid any type of ID from authorized by the federal government because they would just assume that the federal government is going to start using that to like target groups or take away your guns or whatever else. But maybe you think that's happening too, and that's a stronger claim. So if you want to think that, then that's fine. I don't care that much because I personally love no, I'm just kidding. I think that the obsession over like kids and porn and pedophiles or whatever, I think it's weird. I think probably 30% of the people involved in that discourse themselves jerk into fucking kiddie porn or want to fuck kids, and that's why they talk about it so fucking much. It's some weird projection. But if you want that to be your pet project, and if you think the most important fucking thing in the universe is trying to forbid a 14-year-old from seeing porn or whatever because that's going to irrevocably destroy their brain, then fine, you can have that position. But then I don't know why all those same people, and maybe it's not the same people, maybe this guy has given my take where he's like, I don't think this is as big a deal as people make it. And maybe, and if he does, then whatever. But like, for all the people that are obsessing over that, to now be upset that, okay, well, now Discord's going to try some ID verification system. Like, what? Not ID verification. It's like, okay, what do you expect them to do? If you think that all the kids seeing the porn is the worst thing in the universe or getting groomed or whatever the fuck else, how else are they going to enforce ages or enforce, who's allowed to use what? Like, I don't know what people want. I just don't know what people are looking for. For Discord to hire a seer or a mystic that's going to divine the ages of people using the platform, or what's the...
End quote. On Persona, Byline Times reports, quote, Persona has faced lawsuits in the US alleging that it retained the biometric data of food delivery drivers and that it used users' selfies to train AI models. This, breaking the quote here, is creepy as fuck. So you upload your information to allegedly validate yourself, and then it trains models on your face. Now, to continue this, Byline Times report also reads, quote, these are claims that Persona denies. Its privacy policy promises to delete face scans after 7 days, but vaguely allows data use for service improvement, and since 2025, requires users...
I don't disagree with you, but the only argument I've seen with any weight is that Discord just had a big data leak, so fuck try something. Who hasn't? Who hasn't? At this point. What, like Experian, the US government, our SF-86s to China with all the health information? Like, I feel like every single fucking massive thing has had huge fucking data leak. Like, who hasn't had a data breach? Are there people out there? If they are, then recommend them. Like, Jesus. True, DGG has not. True.
To waive their right to join class action lawsuits, end quote. So, in just a few short steps, Discord is connected to Epstein-associated and seemingly sugar baby Peter Thiel, the co-founder of PayPal and mentor to Sam Altman of ChatGPT.
Tell me about your just communication lessons that you've learned from Peter Thiel. He comes up with these like very evocative, very short statements that really stick in your brain. And I don't know how to do that. I don't really know anybody else who does that.
The basic idea was that we could never win an election on getting certain things because we were in such a small minority. That maybe you could actually unilaterally change the world without having to constantly convince people and beg people and plead with people who are never going to agree with you through technological means. And this is where I think technology is this incredible alternative to politics.
Here's what happened. Before that, this video is brought to you by APNX and the V2 case, which uses a skeletal-like structure and tempered glass for a showcase PC.
Whoa.
Although the front side and top are tempered glass, the APNX V2 uses a perforated right side panel with fan mounts basically everywhere that's not a motherboard. The rear of the case also features large holes with optional additional fan mounts for a potential exhaust path. The case also has a central spine with a wrapping cable management cover that gives builds in the case a unique look. APNX's V2 has some modularity as well, such as swappable power supply and storage trays along the backside of the case. Learn more about the APNX V2 at the link in the description below. This comes at a time when more websites and governments than ever are requiring some form of ID just to use the internet, just to visit websites. And it starts with stuff that is harder for people to argue, or maybe it feels more embarrassing to talk about in public to oppose to argue, such as adult content, adult websites, as we've seen over the last several years now. And where
So what's your position on privacy? Is it a right? Is it necessary? Is it just hypocrisy being concerned about pedo stuff while pushing back against it, or what? What's your clear stance on this? I don't really give that much of a fuck about age verifying online shit, but then maybe that's because I'm a child of the internet who saw a bunch of fucked up shit when I was a kid, and I turned out just fine. I don't know what sound clip I have to put to it. I just don't care that much about it. But for the people that are obsessed with it, again, what have we said? What's the thing I've said like a million times in the past couple of weeks? Everything is a balancing test, okay? If you want to keep kids off of the internet or you want to keep kids from watching porn or whatever, that's fine, but your privacy is not an absolute right there. At that point, you have to give up at least a little bit of privacy to verify your age. Otherwise, how are you going to figure out like who's a kid and who's not a kid if you're not doing some kind of age verification? If this is like a massively fucking important issue to you, then at some point you're going to have to figure out how you're going to balance that against your right to privacy, because I don't see how you would do it. And nobody seems to, or at least I haven't heard any strong ideas, so I don't know.
In the US, depending on the language we're using in a given video, you might need an ID to view our videos in about 25 states. But then it expands from that, from the harder to argue aspects, because people don't want to have the association of arguing on behalf of ID-less adult content websites. It spreads to things like Discord, which obviously has a wide range of uses, but most of them are pretty normal. And this is valuable information to tie to your ID and your online presence. We're attaching IDs to everything bears with it, we think, serious risks of, one, exposure.
Like, here's a suggestion for Discord. Why not just like ban not safe for work content on Discord? Do you need porn on Discord? Like, is that really an important thing for Discord? Not safe for work communities? Can't you just ban that? I don't know what else they want the ID for. Is it for using swear words, or I don't even know what it means to have a fucking teen account or whatever the fuck. So I don't know what restrictions Discord apply to the account, but
as in just vulnerabilities to different types of attacks, extortion, blackmail, but also future suppression of speech, such as via corporations and or governments. The good news is that you all already knew that. Google Trend search results for Discord and interest in Discord alternatives have surged to all-time highs. Alternatives like Stoat, Mumble, and others have been skyrocketing in interest, likely discovering audiences that never knew they even existed. We think you'd maybe be better off hosting your own solution. That's an idea for a separate video we're working on already. Because this will repeat, there's limitations.
People are saying that's going to kill Discord like Tumblr. I super disagree. If I had to guess, I feel like I'm totally throwing out random fucking numbers here, but I feel like fucking it might have been up to 50% of Tumblr's traffic, maybe less than that, maybe 30 to 50% of Tumblr's traffic had to do with not safe for work content. My guess is like 80 to 90% plus of Discord's traffic. Did I mix it up? Of Tumblr's traffic was not safe for work content. Probably less than 10% of Discord's traffic is not safe for work content. And also, the not safe for work type of content that you would see on Discord isn't even like a thing that can spread to the rest of the platform. Like on Tumblr, you can link other people your not safe for work Tumblr posts, and they can Tumblr back, and they can all tumble together, and it's like the engagement, and it's part of the social media aspect. For Discord, not safe for work is usually tucked away in weird Discord servers or in weird not safe for work only rooms or whatever. I don't think it's the same thing. I don't think a ban on not safe for work content on Discord would have that big of an impact on the platform. I seriously doubt it.
More on that in the future, though. But in short, the situation, it's got some interesting notes that we found when digging through some of the connections, so we're going to go through that today. On February 9th, Discord put out a press release which stated, quote, "New and existing users worldwide will have a teen-appropriate experience by default," end quote. Discord will force user identification in early March, when it'll force users to choose between using a facial age estimation software or uploading government-issued ID photos in order to access features such as, quote, "age-restricted channels, servers, or commands, and select message requests." Discord's position, as the position ever is with corporations that do things like, for example, propose anti-net neutrality laws, is about protecting the children, which is admirable, if that's true, and if they actually do it. But again, you can put it up there with all of the anti-net neutrality legislation that falls under a title of protecting the children, but actually nests and hides within it all sorts of...
I don't know how many Discord servers you've been in, but there are so many not safe for work sharing threads and otherwise normal servers. Yeah, but isn't that usually like a minority of the people in the server that are participating? I think, did we ban all not safe for work from our Discord, from the DGG Discord? Or is that still allowed in mine?
Anti-humanity regulations as well. And of course, at a time when government associates are found all over the Epstein files, but we'll kind of leave that disgusting irony for another time, or maybe for Voidzilla. We think this is more about liability and about the ability to sell Discord in some sort of acquisition in the future or go to an IPO, because increasing the value of each individual account by attaching an ID to it would mean you verify these users are probably not bots. Well, we'll talk about how easy it is to trick these systems. And it means that you now have even more marketable data that you can package together. And so if you are Discord and you do sell, a company like Microsoft might be able to get a whole lot of value out of attaching that packet of data to this packet of data, and now you know basically everything about that person. That can be used in a lot of ways. To skirt around having to ask users to verify their age, the company also wrote, quote, "Discord will implement its age inference model." Oh boy. A new system, they say, that runs in the background to help determine whether an account belongs to an adult.
Do you think it should be considered child abuse if a parent refuses to moderate a child's internet usage and where they navigate to? Yes, I think they should take your kid. If they find out that your kid has ever in his entire life seen a single pornographic image, they should fucking take your child away from you. Put him in foster care. I think that like 25 years ago or whatever, well, it's kind of weird. I was going to say back when I was a kid, there were legitimate arguments to be made about moderating your kid's internet usage. But keep in mind, like your kid's internet usage probably happened like on the family computer in the living room. People didn't have their own computers. Their cell phones couldn't go. There was no internet for cell phones. Okay, it was abysmal early on. Laptops were huge and bulky and clunky, and like, kids didn't have laptops turned. Like there was just like the internet was just a thing you did in the family room. And if your kid was like monitoring your kid's internet usage was about as easy, or maybe even easier than monitoring their TV usage. Like if you wanted to find some porn, you'd be surfing weird channels on your TV, you know, when you're a kid, trying to get the fuzzy pictures to come through, more likely than going onto the family computer and looking at porn, especially because kids didn't know how to delete history and everything. But that being said, the older people also didn't know how to use computers that well, so maybe they couldn't monitor it. But today, I think keeping your kid off the internet or keeping your kid from looking at weird internet shit is prohibitively impossible as a parent. I think the best thing you do is probably keep your line of communication open, because they've got cell phones that can access anything. They've got all these different pads, tablets, computers, laptops, friends' phones and laptops and computers and tablets, and every fucking device is connected to the internet, and there are ways to sneak around like so many different parental blocks, and kids are oftentimes more tech savvy than their parents or grandparents or anybody are. It's really, really difficult. Obviously, you should still do your best, I guess, to monitor your kids' internet usage, but it's a very, very challenging thing these days. Very, very, very challenging.
Model, oh boy, a new system, they say, that runs in the background to help determine whether an account belongs to an adult, end quote. You don't want to upload an ID because you're worried about a future potential breach or something, and so instead it's running some unknown subroutine or whatever, like some sort of holodeck program in the background to monitor everything that you're doing. I mean, feasibly, that exe may become an additional spyware vector. In an attempt to get ahead of the criticism, Discord stated that the, quote, video selfies for facial age estimation never leave a user's device, end quote. They also claimed that copies of government-issued IDs submitted to Discord's third-party vendors are, quote, deleted quickly, in most cases, immediately after confirmation, end quote. Not exactly reassuring. Also, deletion basically immediately, one, is not immediate. In an attempt to get ahead of the criticism, Discord stated that the, quote, video selfies for facial age estimation never leave a user to verify their age. The company also wrote, quote, Discord will implement its age inference model, oh boy, a new system, they say, that runs in the background to help determine whether an account belongs to an adult, end quote. You don't want to upload an ID because you're worried about a future potential breach or something, and so instead it's running some unknown subroutine or whatever.
Like, if his default position is just he's not going to trust anything the company says ever, then, I mean, we can have that position, I guess. I don't even know if it would necessarily be the wrong position to take, but then it's kind of boring. Why even bother going through anything Discord says? Like, why not just say they're lying about everything and be done with it? Like, you can make an argument for a locally running program that verifies ID to be safer than any kind of central database, right? I look at like Redact, for instance. When I redact things on my computer using Redact, the program, like all of that is done locally and it's on my computer. So there is no way that Redact can ever be hacked such that there's like a central repository for all of my deleted logs or whatever to be accessed from some central database, because there's a locally running program. Now, you can make the argument that you think that that's a bad idea for whatever reason, but if it's just like, oh, they're lying and I don't trust them for anything, it's like, okay, I guess. I mean, this is like a lose. Like, what do you want to do? What do you want to do if you don't trust them for anything they say and they're lying and they're trying to hack and steal and cheat everything anyway? Like, what are we doing here? I don't know.
Some sort of holodeck program in the background to monitor everything that you're doing. I mean, feasibly, that exe may become an additional spyware vector. In an attempt to get ahead of the criticism, Discord stated that...
Like, everything can become an additional spyware vector. Would I argue this? That a locally running program doesn't have the same chance as becoming a spyware vector as... I mean, like, they both have different risks, I guess. Theoretically, if that thing were to somehow become compromised, I mean, somebody would have root access to your entire box, which would be a hugely horrible thing. But my guess is going to be that type of attack vector is going to be more difficult than a database leak online of stuff, which is going to leak a lot of information, but it won't be as bad as somebody having admin or root access to your system. It's all like... It's a trade-off. Like, what do you want to do, you know? Maybe instead of demanding state IDs have better moderation, almost every extremist cell/attack has communicated through Discord. What kind of moderation do you want when you say that? Do you think that Discord should be reading every single message that you send? Is that the next thing? Because these people would have a problem with that immediately next, right? That would be the next thing, no?
The, quote, video selfies for facial age estimation never leave a user's device, end quote. They also claimed that copies of government-issued IDs submitted to Discord's third-party vendors are, quote, deleted quickly, in most cases, immediately after confirmation, end quote. Not exactly reassuring. Also, deletion basically immediately, one, is not immediate, and two, doesn't do anything about it if there's some sort of intercept where there's an exploit or an attacker that embeds itself in between the two endpoints, which is something that we have seen in attacks in the past. There's a lot of value in this data. There's a lot of motive to get it. If you're prompted to prove that you're an adult and aren't willing to do so, you won't be able to unblur what it thinks are sensitive images. You won't be able to access age-gated spaces, won't be able to access messages from strangers at all, and won't be able to speak on stage in servers. Now, a lot of this does make it sound like, okay, you're not in an 18+ space, no problem. But again, the problem is the fact that they are collecting identification in this form at all. It's big overreach for a company that can't be trusted. This age-gated measure isn't particularly new. Discord implemented it in the UK on July 21st, 2025 to comply with the country's controversial Online Safety Act, which pushed age verification on its denizens. As you may remember, if you're in the gaming space, that's when people started using Norman Reedus' face from Death Stranding to circumvent the age verification check. Discord has since said they've addressed that particular workaround, and now we're left wondering if Norman Reedus can't be verified as an adult in the UK.
You
In a weird PR move, Discord also said that it aims to protect teenagers by subjecting a so-called council of 10 to 12 of them to their first corporate focus group. Welcome to the real world. Isn't it fun? Discord says it is, quote, giving teens a seat at the table by announcing recruitment for its inaugural teen council, end quote, which it says will bring, quote, authentic teen perspectives into how Discord shapes their experience, end quote.
How do you do, fellow kids?
As for why Discord is doing all this, the UK Online Safety Act was the catalyst, wanting to avoid heavy fines in the UK, which can amount to upwards of 10% of the company's worldwide revenue. Discord complied with the British law beginning July 21st last year. Months later, on December 9th, Discord also expanded its age verification measures in Australia to comply with that country's online safety amendment, which was enacted in late 2025. Discord is now pushing it globally to get ahead of mounting calls to enact regulations more broadly. For instance, countries like France and Spain are moving to ban social media access for those under 16. That may or may not be a good idea. It's worth talking about, but it doesn't really matter for this. What matters is that those types of regulation serve as awfully good cover fire for corporations like Discord to change their policies to start collecting identification and building profiles on you that will become even more valuable as marketing as we get further into this AI fuckery that exists now, where, again, it's the reference we keep bringing up, but as has been shown in places like More Perfect Union, there's grocery stores that'll price discriminate based on who the store thinks you are when you're standing in front of a shelf. Stretch it to things like Discord. All of that data is really valuable. The problem with all this is simple. 2 months after Discord started asking for IDs the first time to comply with the UK Online Safety Act, an unknown entity breached Discord's third-party service that handled those IDs. On October 3rd, 2025, Discord wrote that it had, quote, recently discovered an incident where an unauthorized party compromised one of our third-party vendors, end quote. In terms of the data that was compromised, Discord shared that it included Discord usernames, emails, limited billing information, which could likely include all or part of addresses.
The crazy thing is a Discord leak had usernames tied to everything. I don't know why the third-party verification service would need the username passed to them at all versus an anonymous token or something. Yeah, I don't know the details of what got leaked before, but yeah, that would make sense.
IP addresses, which are a major vector, customer service messages, corporate data, and last but not least, what they call, quote, government ID images, end quote. This information is valuable. Having IP addresses and hardware configurations which are already collected by websites can be combined, bought, sold, traded, acquired on the internet, whether through bad actors or through just bad actors that are incorporated somewhere legally. And the end result of this is that it is useful not only for...
I mean, the token would then be assigned to your username, right? Yeah, but you wouldn't know who that is. Like, imagine if I passed a thing to you and I asked you, can you verify token ABC123? And you said, yes, they're of age. Well, you know that ABC123 is of age, but then I say thank you. But then when I get ABC123 back, I know that that's tied to the Discord account Destiny. So the token thing would anonymize the information being passed from the Discord server to whoever the third-party authenticator is.
Advertising to you in potentially adversarial ways, but also for things like blackmail vectors or extortion or really social engineering attempts that may just open up scam opportunities. Now, the good news in all of this is that there isn't any evidence of attempted extortion. Quote, the numbers being shared are incorrect and part of an attempt to extort a payment from Discord, end quote. Okay, a little bit of extortion, just a small amount of extortion. But all of this data, no matter how...
Hold on, wait, what? I'm sorry, I must have misunderstood this.
Quote, government ID images, end quote. This information is valuable. Having IP addresses and hardware configurations which are already collected by websites can be combined, bought, sold, traded, acquired on the internet, whether through bad actors or through just bad actors that are incorporated somewhere legally. And the end result of this is that it is useful not only for advertising to you in potentially adversarial ways, but also for things like blackmail vectors or extortion or really social engineering attempts that may just open up scam opportunities. Now, the good news in all of this is that there isn't any evidence of attempted extortion. Quote, the numbers being shared are incorrect and part of an attempt to extort a payment from Discord, end quote. Okay, a little bit of extortion, just a small amount of extortion.
Okay, that sentence right there doesn't say anything. Unless I'm misunderstanding something. The extortion thing, the bad thing for extortion would be somebody finds your information in a data breach, gets some like embarrassing information about you, and then says that they're going to communicate that information to your family unless you pay them some amount of money. That's extortion. If somebody says, oh, people are lying about what's been leaked from Discord in an attempt to extort us, that's not really the type of extortion that people are talking about or worried about. That's a totally different thing, but I don't know. Okay.
But all of this data, no matter how uninteresting of a target you might think you are today, you don't know how interesting you're going to be tomorrow and for what purpose. Because it may feel like, well, it's just a gaming account. I mean, really, how much on there is useful if I'm talking to people that play video games and then I play video games and it happens to know what games I play and for how long? It might seem like relatively useless information, or maybe the worst they do is use it to sell stuff to you, which, okay, it's easy to be apathetic towards that. That's what the internet does. But it all comes down to just not making it too easy to continually compile this stuff because we don't know how it's going to be useful or who's going to want to use it. As we said earlier, Discord previously elaborated, quote, of the account impacted globally, we have identified approximately 70,000 users that have had government ID photos exposed, which our vendor used to review age...
Wait, can you hear me? Did you find any humidifiers in the other building? Oh, okay. Here's a blueprint if you need it. Good luck. Fucking piece of shit. Motherfucker.
appeals, end quote. This conflicts with information from attackers, which included the attackers claiming possession of 2.1 million government ID photos and data from 5.5 million unique users via Zendesk support. Discord previously told Bleeping Computer, quote, first, as stated in our blog post, this was not a breach of Discord, but rather a third-party service we use to support our customer service efforts, end quote. The company divulged that the attack was done to, quote, extort a financial ransom from Discord, end quote. Apparently, a ransom of $5 million, later reduced to $3.5 million per Bleeping Computer, and Discord said, quote, we will not reward those responsible for their illegal actions, end quote, which is really just a less cool way of saying we don't negotiate with terrorists. So Discord seemingly didn't negotiate, didn't pay out, and we still don't know what that means for your data. Somebody has it if you were in that group. Bleeping Computer at the time said that the attackers, quote, gained access to Discord's Zendesk instance for 58 hours, beginning on September 20th, 2025, end quote, and also that, quote, attackers claims to have stolen 1.6 terabytes of data, including around 1.5 terabytes of ticket attachments and over 100 gigabytes of ticket transcripts, end quote, apparently spread across 8.4 million tickets with 580,000 containing payment information for Bleeping Computer. Discord through a third-party vendor.
What does that mean? Oh, the hackers say that 580,000 containing some sort of payment information. Oh, that could be really bad or that could be irrelevant. That could be like everything starred except the last 4 numbers of a credit card number, which would be relevant, or that could be full billing details. But it says some sort of payment info. So I guess it's probably not much, I guess. I don't know.
Across 8.4 million tickets with 580,000 containing payment information per Bleeping Computer. Discord threw a third-party vendor under the bus.
This also means they hold on to the info while saying they delete it. Well, this is about payment info. And what is Zendesk? I'm guessing that's like, I always say Jira. I don't know what the fuck Jira is. Is Zendesk some program that helps you go through tickets for IT or whatever? It's a ticket system. Yeah, okay. So it sounds like they got access to that somehow. Who knows how? Not good.
But Discord chose that vendor. It chose what to request. And it chose how to resolve the issue. It's really a Discord problem. But that's last time. Back to today. While trying to soothe the PR nightmare from this most recent global rollout, a Reddit user who claims to be a Discord employee and goes by Discord Zorkian on the Discord app subreddit admitted this, quote, if you do end up in the ID bucket, then yeah, you're right, that has some risk, end quote. You can find that quote in our latest installment of Things the Lawyers Really Wish Weren't in Writing. Andrew Smith, who serves as a cybersecurity expert at Kyocera Document Solutions UK, predicted this could happen back in July of 2025, telling metro.co.uk, quote,
if they actually had something, the extortion would have worked? I don't think so. I feel like, I don't know why you would ever pay off somebody extorting or blackmailing you, because they can always just get infinite. Like, has that ever worked ever? I guess if it did, we wouldn't know about it, huh? Because somebody's blackmailing or extorting you, they can just keep doing it forever. Or they could just release it afterwards. Am I lagging or is this game lagging? Unless they've the only way I can see this working, or the circumstances where I see it working, is if they actually hold the key to a thing and they're trying to blackmail or extort you. Because then you can trade for a thing. So and because they have a reputation that they need to protect. So when your computer gets encrypted by some bullshit program you download, and they're like, send $500 of Bitcoin to this and we'll send you the decryption key. They have an incentive there to help you decrypt your system, because if they don't, then nobody's ever going to pay off people that, glitch your fucking computer and encrypt your drive, because they'll know that they'll never get it. Hey, I'm gonna die to this. Why did I even try this? Fuck you.
Whilst many services claim they do not collect or retain data for a minimum period, data is still collected at the point of transfer, end quote. He added, quote, with the increasing prevalence of cybercrime, there is a risk of data breaches occurring, which can severely impact privacy, end quote, again to metro.co.uk. As a reminder to why even intermediary services can be a risk that you might not expect, Notepad++ recently suffered a vulnerability wherein attackers embedded themselves on the shared hosting server, so not even necessarily within the application, within Notepad++, but on the shared host, and then would strategically intercept certain downloads to what they considered to be, I believe Notepad++ called it, high-value targets for downloads for updates that were getting pushed to the application. So it could sit there dormant, lying in wait to target, however they may do that. IP address is certainly an option, and look for things like government, infrastructure, or anything that may be of value, corporate connections, for example, and then embed the attacks within those sessions for the users.
This is why every single time I download a program, I compare the checksums all the time, right? You guys do too, right?
And this is just another example of how this stuff can be used in ways that might not seem like it matters that much today, but something like attaching an IP address to a user account, you don't know how that's going to be valuable one day. Facial age estimation likewise has problems. It may seem like the lesser of the two evils, but it's an imperfect system, even if it theoretically never leaves your device. One issue is that facial age estimation is a biometric analysis that can be wrong, and its accuracy is based on race, gender, and could be impacted by disability. Better yet, it can be impacted by video games, because video games can beat these services, like Death Stranding. Feasibly, you could use modern AI solutions to do this too. One YouTuber was able to change her Roblox age verification result by about 3 years by changing her makeup in an extremely extreme example of, I guess, permanent makeup, the so-named King of Ink, who has been referred to as Britain's most tattooed man, says that he could not use facial age estimation as a result of his tattoos. He said that this prohibited his ability to access adult content. Quote, some of the websites are asking for picture verification, like selfies, and it's not recognizing my face, end quote, he told metro.co.uk. According to the publication, he, quote, feels discriminated against on the basis of his permanent identity, end quote. And to be fair, pretty identifiable guy. abc.net.au collected testimony of age verification errors, with one person writing in to say, quote, my 13-year-old son has passed the age verification.
Like, I'm curious, by the end of this, does he take a strong position on whether or not he thinks there should be any kind of age verification on Discord? This is just like the current moral panic is about the pedophile shit and all the kids, and I'm curious if he has a position on it. If his position isn't it is, I don't give a fuck. Maybe kids will access bad shit. You know, leave it up to the parents to regulate and moderators as best they can. Then I think that's a fair position. I think it's fair for him to take this position then, because introducing any kind of ID verification is going to, no matter what you do, no matter how you do it, it will involve some risk. It has to. You're just... like definitionally, anytime you are required to put more information anywhere, you're introducing some risk, some attack vectors. I mean, there's no way to avoid that. One logically entails the other.
Face scan by hiding his teeth and scrunching up his face. It guessed his age as 30 plus. In real life, he passes for a 10-year-old, end quote. Ars Technica also reported that a teenage girl was able to pass the check simply by using fake eyelashes. Now, community sentiment around this news, Discord PR, this is the part for you, all right? This is your section. The community sentiment is what you would call not good. It's not really like a PR specialist word. It's literally just not good. Over on the
No, this guy's not about to take my fucking... Bro, I need these. I need these for my stupid fucking account. Can you not? Motherfucker.
privacy subreddit, people are saying they'll leave the platform with users like Cookie Snooper, which is a particularly fitting name, stating, quote, and to Discord we're saying bye-bye, end quote. Fellow Redditor Ivovis chimed in and added, quote, best we stop using it today, end quote. This was followed up by, I deleted TikTok over this. Discord can follow. Another user added, quote, I barely use Discord. I won't be supplying a face scanner ID, end quote. Over on the PC gaming subreddit, a user reportedly stated, quote, hell, Discord has already had one ID breach. Why the fuck would anyone verify on it after that, end quote. A user over on the Discord app subreddit shared a similar point. Quote, just 4 months ago, Discord announced that their third-party vendor used for age-related appeals had multiple pieces of identifying data breached, including government IDs. We haven't forgotten, end quote. Over on the PC Master Race subreddit, there are calls for people to cancel Discord's premium Nitro subscription service, leading to some level of panic and damage control for Discord because that actually affects their money. People are now already looking at alternative solutions with users like
and listen, I'm not trying to sim for big business, although I love sims for big business. But like, how does that make sense? Explain that to me. They want ID verification? I'm not giving you my ID. I would never do that. I'm going to cancel my Discord Nitro. Wait, Discord Nitro? Yes. The thing that you paid for by giving them all of your payment information? So you must have given them your, what, address and all the information connected to a credit card? Yes. It's like, okay, so, but you don't want them to have your, like a picture of your ID? No. It's like, what? Okay. Okay.
Like this one posted on the privacy subreddit asking for options other than Discord, saying, quote, I will not upload my fucking ID anywhere, end quote. Over on the technology subreddit, a user stated, quote, time to go back to TeamSpeak, end quote. Not a bad idea. Maybe we can reintroduce Ventrilo as well. I think I still have an active Ventrilo server with some kind of web hosting company for like $20
To be fair, I don't think the moral panic is about online grooming as much as it centers around billionaire pedo islands. Wouldn't it be fair to separate the two? I'm not even, when I say the current obsession, I'm sorry, maybe I need to clarify this. When I say the current obsession is with pedophilia, I don't mean to imply the Epstein stuff, although, I mean, that's a thing too. I mean, like everybody right now, Ethan Klein and Hassan and all the Discord people and all the YouTubers making commentary videos, like everybody's obsessed with like, this guy's a pedophile, this guy's a pedophile. Didn't Nux just have a thing come out where it's like he was grooming minors on Discord, he's a pedophile? Like the thing right now is like everything is pedophilia. Pedophilia is hot as fuck right now, okay? You haven't made, or if you want to get a big YouTube channel, make a video about pedophiles, because that's what everybody wants to see, okay?
For probably about 20 years now. I think that, oh no, I think it's actually more than that. Okay, all right, we're gonna move on from that. Just saying, Vent maybe still an option. But speaking to The Verge, on a story published, the
payment providers are way more secure. They have been around longer. Yeah, but you have to pass your payment info through to the company in order for them to get it. Unless you're, sometimes, I don't know why this is used sometimes. Sometimes there's like an API that the credit card people provide. I don't know why that's not, like I feel like for Visa or who? Or like you have to log into their thing and then okay it. Sometimes it happens, but.
The same day of the announced rollout, Savannah Badalich, who is Discord's global head of product policy, shared that the company expected blowback and stated, quote, we do expect there will be some sort of hit there, and we are incorporating that into what our planning looks like, end quote, referring to the hit from users not liking this, quote, we'll find other ways to bring users back, end quote. See now that sounds like a statement that will appease investors. And to users, it sounds completely sociopathic.
You'll be back, you'll remember.
Do you store our payment info? No, when you make a payment for a DGG sub, that's instantly offlined into a Word doc that goes right to my desktop, so I have all of it logged right on my computer. But DGG itself doesn't, because once it gives it to me, it's deleted. So only I get all of it.
Do you belong to me?
It's also just some insane ego for Discord. Discord thinks that it's so great that it can remain alive indefinitely. But as someone, like probably many of you, who has been through the rise and fall of many services for chatting, like AIM, how's that for a throwback? Yahoo Messenger, MSN Messenger, Xfire, Skype is a big one. These things, they come and go. And it's really, they're a dime a dozen at this point, although IRC is still around. It's just a matter of time for Discord.
There's always a bigger fish.
One of the most interesting pathways is to self-host something for those who don't need access to the entire internet of people to connect with. This is less feasible, where you may interact with more sort of random people day by day, like from gaming servers, you want to add someone new, but it works great for existing friend groups or companies or groups of people who really can just stay on one platform. And we're considering taking all of our own chat services internal, since we refuse to attach identification to company accounts. But as for Discord right now, they're in damage control mode. Following mass criticism after the initial announcement, the next day, February 10th, Discord tried to do damage control. The company took to Twitter and wrote, quote, "For the majority of adult users, we will be able to confirm your age group using information we already have. We use age prediction to determine with high confidence when a user is an adult. This allows many adults to access age-appropriate features without completing an explicit age check," end quote. Really reassuring.
I am so, he didn't say it all in this video, right? I'm so curious how much of Discord's content centers around adult stuff. It can't be that much. That'd be my assumption.
Discord, thanks. Instead of, we need your ID to do this, it's now become, we already know anyway. I mean, it's just, the ID is really just a formality at this point. The concern with these types of solutions is that you end up in a 23andMe type of situation where even if you absolutely refuse to put your DNA in a polymailer and send it off to a private corporate lab somewhere to be analyzed and then sucked into a database on the internet, if your estranged aunt and uncle you haven't seen in 20 years decide to do that, then you are also starting to be added to that database. In these DNA situations, you can start to triangulate users. And it's kind of the same for social media, where if your friends on a platform like Discord upload their ID and they comply, maybe they're not as informed on the situation or whatever it may be, now suddenly by being associated with you, the platform can start to figure out who you are, how old you might be, maybe just literally who you are based on your friends who've uploaded their own identifying information. So now they don't just have a username, the company also has potentially a name, maybe they can point at something like Facebook and start to build a full profile on that person. There's pathways to crawl back to you. So whether or not you comply, the problem is that anyone who does is putting everyone else at risk because of this ability to triangulate the data and who's who. I think this is something that a lot of people, it's easy to forget that part of it, but this stuff's pretty smart these days. 2026
is the year for open source Discord alternatives. True, we need more open source social media. Anybody else want to add me on Mastodon, on the Mastodon instance that I'm running on a thing where I know that the username looks similar to another one, but you have to put the ad at the end to show you which instance of Mastodon my account is running on, and anybody else?
Especially with AI tools, where as much as they get memed on, there are a few things that they can be pretty good at, and one of them is connecting links and building these sort of webs. And the same goes for services like Discord, where they can get you one way or the other, and the rest is a formality. The company went on in damage control mode to say, quote, "Facial scans never leave your device. Discord and our vendor..."
Yeah, the solution for all of this really is we're just waiting for the AI to get sophisticated enough so we can say, AI, please solve this problem. And then AI will give us the magical solution to everything. Hell yes.
Partners never receive it. IDs are used to get your age only and then deleted. Discord only receives your age. That's it. Your identity is never associated with your account, end quote. So they're sort of pre-contesting what a lot of our concerns are, which is what we would expect them to do. The post continued, quote, "In a minority of cases, when additional confirmation is required, we offer multiple privacy-forward options," it doesn't mean fucking anything, by the way, "through trusted partners," end quote. And considering Discord puts its trust in a partner that leaked at least 70,000 IDs, if not millions of data points, it has already proven why no one can be trusted with this data. Discord continued, quote, "We will not use your age assurance information to target you with advertisements, and we don't sell your data. You can control how we use your data," end quote. Yeah, gonna press X on that. But let's assume that's true. Let's assume it's written in blood, and they'll sacrifice the CEO at an altar, I don't know, maybe it'll be one of Wendell's server cabinets or something, in order to prove that they're not going to abuse this information. The concern we have as ever is, for example, when a company wants to acquire this other company, where Microsoft previously was rumored to be interested in buying Discord. Microsoft is basically the perfect type of company. They're exactly the right level of evil and incompetent to pull something off where they buy it and they go, fuck the agreements, do it anyway, and we'll just pay a couple.
Okay, like, maybe there's examples of this going wrong or whatever, but just because you buy a company, I'm pretty sure you still have to adhere to the agreements that the company signed. Like, unless you're buying off assets from a bankrupted company or whatever, and then even at that, there still might be agreements attached to it. The idea that, like, imagine if I bought some company, what would I even think of? Like, I buy a hospital and I just kick everybody out. And I'm like, go die now. We're taking in rich patients. I'm pretty sure if you buy a company, then all of the... Well, no, it has to, because the company still exists as the company. You would have to, like... You'd either have to, like, formally dissolve the company, or the company would have to be going bankrupt and you're buying off assets, individual assets from the company. But just so you buy a company doesn't mean it should be released from all of its agreements prior to that. Now, he was about to make a meme where it's like they just want to pay the legal fees or whatever, which, I mean, that would be a different problem you want to go through then. Maybe the penalties need to be bigger or something, but... Does it upset you, or do you dislike that people online are so obsessed with hunting down pedos? Why? You keep talking about it in a tone that gives away you think it's a bad thing. People are obsessed with hating pedophiles because they're closing in on me every day, and I'm getting more nervous by the week. It's just like, it's one of those like low-hanging fruit things, like for the kids, and then people obsess over it, and then they start to see it everywhere. And then also like the conversations around like grooming and pedophilia online are always like the most fucking retarded conversations, because nobody knows what, or people's definitions of grooming basically boil down to like an adult try to fuck a kid, which is just like pedophilia or child porn or something. Like, I don't know why we're saying grooming, and then everything becomes grooming, and it's just weird, and it just feels like very performative and cringe. I don't know. I mean, like if you find pedophiles and you are, especially if you see people fucking hurting kids or doing crazy shit online, you should absolutely fucking report it. And I think it's worth covering. But like the weird like obsession that people have from it, I don't know what it is about children. I guess because they're the ultimate version of like human innocence. I guess people just who like obsess over it just comes off as very performative and cringe to me.
$1 million later, but what we're gonna make now, that'll be worth it. Likewise, even if they don't keep the ID on file, and all they've done is make some sort of association in a database that your account is a verified end user of a minimum age or greater, that's still valuable, again, in an acquisition, where now a company like Microsoft...
Sextortion is the big thing now. It's really fucking scary. I don't know why we had to call extortion involving porn sextortion. I do agree that's a bad thing. Is this unique to minors though? Also, people, because I've known friends where this has happened, people try to extort you using sexual images and stuff when they don't even have them. Like people will just like randomly message accounts and they'll be like, I've got nudes of you and blah, 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 and I'm gonna message your whole family unless you send me however much money. Actually, it's usually not that aggressive. It'll come off as sounding a little bit friendlier, but at the end of the day, it's like an extortion attempt. But oftentimes they'll do this when they don't even have, those pictures. They just say random shit, but...
can connect this to your maybe offline Windows 11 local account or something and start to really piece together some valuable information, and they do put ads in that. And so whether or not Discord says they're going to sell the information to advertisers, the point remains that it can be used that way. Following its compliance to the UK Online Safety Act, Discord partnered with, we kid you not, KID to handle age verification. Discord reiterated that it uses KID in a support page that was updated 2 months ago. So we looked into the company. KID provides a platform that helps gaming and tech companies comply with age verification regulations. Big names use KID, including Meta, Hasbro, and Twitch. And looking through KID's privacy policy, it states, quote, if you engage with our services either through an online service or support through Family Connect, we receive your approximate city-level location from your device's IP address, end quote. Except an IP address is a lot more than city-level data. It's weasel wording, where technically they're correct. IP data can get you to city-level geopositioning, geolocation. If you know what you're doing, you get a little further.
Oh, the idea is like you sect somebody to get something, and then you extort them afterwards. Oh, with that. Oh, hey, I know somebody that's happened too. Sure, I guess. I mean, it's still just extortion, but people want to give a different word to it. Okay.
That, but it is mostly roughly accurate to say that statement. But an IP address is also one of the best methods to tie data packages to each other, and they're not talking about that, and that's for a reason. Regarding age information, the post continues, quote, we receive age information through a variety of sources, including from you directly through third-party age signals, or via our automated tools, end quote. It isn't clear what third-party age signals and automated tools actually means here. Diving deeper into KID, we found that one of the company's so-called chief evangelists, whatever that means, is a woman named Baroness Joanna Shields, who previously served in that position during at least 2020. The American-British woman is a former politician who was Minister for Internet Safety and Security in the UK between 2015 and 2017. Eventually, she was appointed as the Prime Minister's Special Representative on Internet Crime and Harm, where she served in that role until 2018. Shields has also been a proponent for the UK's Online Safety Act, which started all of this. In a blog post published on July 18, 2024, she reflected, quote, there have been recent positive developments in legislation, including the UK Online Safety Act, unquote. On her LinkedIn page, she also recently shared she's proud of the recent partnership between KID and Discord. Just like in the US, there's a lot of crossover between politics and private.
Ethan Klein literally spent $10,000 on a billboard to bring attention to an alleged child groomer he's been obsessed with for years. So they're actually trying to, at the very least, work with law enforcement, actually bring a case against them. Is it James Charles? Am I fucking that up? This is like the guy who's like super gay online, or something. I don't know anything about these people. I feel like I've seen his videos before. I remember hearing about him. Okay. Did he actually groom somebody? I don't even know why they don't like each other. I don't know anything about it.
Enterprise. This makes it difficult to know how pure intentions
I did see the billboards though, because that H3 subreddit talked about him a lot, but I have no idea what the context is to any of that. So, other than I know that Ethan is very spy-driven, so.
are for these people. Maybe Shields legitimately really cares about the subject and is trying to champion it from both the public and private sector. We don't know. But we just find it weird that former government position-holding people happen to align with new private sector positions. It's especially strange when looking at how much money the age verification industry is generating. But maybe it's just a passion of hers.
Has anybody talked about, or is this too scary or whatever, like that you could... I wonder if there's a child mode on cell phones that make it so that you can't take nude pictures. Because I know if you've used phones for any amount of time, phones have been able to detect not safe for work content for a while now. Because as soon as like Google and Apple started to have the ability to show you like, oh, here's like your memories or whatever. Like they always leave out, like if you ever have like, if you've ever taken not safe for work videos before, those never show up there. So I'm pretty sure they've had a way to detect these for a while. But hi. But there must be some parent mode. I wonder if the parent mode just blocks them from taking pictures at all, though. Who knows? I don't know.
Genuine. We're not sure. It does seem strange, though. As it turns out, there's a rapidly growing...
What? If you keep your gun out, I feel like I should just kill you. Right? I think that's fair, right? Why not put your gun away? He should know how to, no? Yeah. Oh, fuck. I don't ever win this now. Oh my god. Oh. No, he's trying to kill me. This guy is. He's bad. I'm just trying to extract. I just need humidifiers. I'm chilling. This guy said he was friendly and then he tried to kill me. 100%. Kill him and loot him. I mean, I'm not even lying. Got him!
Identity arms race, of which KID is a part. That's worth billions of dollars now. Future Market Insights wrote, quote, the identity verification market is projected to rise from USD $14.1 billion in 2026 to $42.8 billion by 2036, recording a 13.1% compound annual growth rate, end quote. It's possible this is an industry that's largely, or at least in part, propped up under the guise of protecting children while selling a solution that may line the pockets of those in power. It doesn't help that billion.
I also don't like this, like, I understand we gotta hate firms and hate billionaires and all this, but like, anything that makes the platform better should also theoretically help investors, right? Like, if you're investing in a platform, the platform's doing things that are attracting more users and are making the platform better, that's also going to help invest. Like, ideally, there's going to be an alignment between these goals, you know? Now, there are things that maybe they could do that would be bad for the average user that would also help investors, which he's kind of making the argument for. But you can't just say over and over again, I know this will help investors. I know this will help investors. I know this will... Well, talk about why the thing is bad. Stop saying it'll help investors. Like, things that are good for the platform should also help investors if they want to see more user growth or whatever.
In power are ones driving all of this given the recent news. Discord isn't an island here. While Discord says that it will quickly delete copies of your ID, we're not sure what quickly means. In general, the energy coming from the company right now is gaslighting and ego, where when called out, it says that it's not really going to be that bad. And then when confronted with how bad it is, at least from a user exodus situation, they say, we're going to get you back anyway, we'll have some features. But Discord has shown that it can't be trusted, and Discord forgets that it is just one of a million other chat applications that have all come and gone before it, and it's not special. Discord undermined its credibility to protect user data once already. It should not be trusted here. It shouldn't have been trusted the first time either.
He says that, but I feel like, I don't know why or what led to this environment. I feel like applications and games and everything, I feel like are way more sticky than they used to be. Whereas things would come and go all the time. I feel like now, if you have a thing that's thoroughly embedded into the market, it feels like it's very hard for it to go away. Because I guess because users just get attached to a particular platform and then they don't want to move or go anywhere else, which is annoying.
But now especially, and pushing users to submit their IDs to third-party sites provides a treasure trove of data for bad actors to prey upon, or bad actors that are legally protected as corporations. It's dangerous and gives up details like addresses, birth dates, the latter of which can be used to potentially get access to sensitive content like medical records. A lot of hospitals, you call them, you give them a name and a birth date, and you'll get a lot of information with just that. It is useful, in the very least, for social engineering as well. And again, one of our...
There's no way, right? Is that true? That feels like that would be way too easy to do.
Concerns is the ability for non-compliant, unconsenting users to be triangulated by the nature of how these tools work, where your friends who surround you create the vector to draw a line straight to you and identify who you are. And this is, again, I think one of the least obvious use cases of this type of technology where you can get everyone even if they're not a participant. Discord's argument is that it's trying to protect teenagers. But as we mentioned, kids are finding ways to bypass the systems anyway. And likewise, such systems, ironically, I think, prey on them the most because the kids who actually have to deal with this stuff, first of all, there's a concern of sort of that generational gap, not by age, by technology, where over time, it just takes one generation that has only ever known this approach to the internet, uploading your ID to use a thing, to suddenly think that everybody else is a tinfoil hat wearing crazy person. Okay, look, this does not help my case right now, but the point is, as we get deeper into this version of the internet, the people coming up now, the children who these companies claim they are trying to protect, are not going to know anything else. And it might be really the only reasonable way, they think, to gain access to some of these things, or they're just not aware of the risks yet. Because it does take a certain level of maturity and of being around the block for a while on the internet to really understand just how truly, absolutely fucked you are the minute you put one piece of information like an ID literally anywhere, because it's game over after that. You cannot put that genie back in the bottle once it's out. The best thing you can do is try to mitigate how many other sites have access to that type of information, but it's better to never upload it at all to anything for these types of services in particular. And we think the kids that they claim they're protecting are exactly the ones who are going to fall prey to this because they won't know any better when they hit 18 or 16 or whatever the magical date range year is that these companies dictate is okay for you to start using the special feature that you want or starting to gamble on skins for your account or whatever it may be. But it also just doesn't work anyway. In the Ask Brits subreddit, for instance, people are sharing inventive workarounds, which include pointing people to a service called Use Their ID, which is a site that uses AI-generated mock driving licenses of UK Parliament members as a stand-in for identification. Even if Discord doesn't force ID collections, its age inference model isn't much better and reeks of surveillance. As Discord told The Verge, quote, Discord's age inference model uses account information such as account tenure, device and activity data, and aggregated high-level patterns across Discord communities, unquote. Regardless of whatever Discord says, the reality is that this data is valuable to advertisers and, if they exist in the future, at least in a public capacity, shareholders. For instance, the company can say they know for certain they have X number of verified adults who are assuredly not bots. This also looks good for interested investors. Speaking of which, this worldwide rollout in early March again also coincides with IPO paperwork filings that suggest Discord is looking to go public in March. And what a coincidence that is. That sure would be a useful time to know exactly how many non-bot users you have and how valuable those users are, what their income might be.
I mean, it would also be a valuable time to make sure that kids aren't getting extorted or that child porn isn't being spread on your platform as well, right? Like, this was a huge pressure that was put on all the porn companies from the credit card people too. So again, like, I'm not trying to say their intentions are pure or noble. Like, maybe they are planning on doing some big data dump in the future, but these incentives also align with maybe the company just wants to be a better company so it doesn't get fucked by some crazy shit like that in the future. Maybe, who knows? I don't know.
Be where specifically they live, so you can start to, in the very least, look at the aggregate demographics of that exact specific location, again, including the income levels of that demographic region, or if you've got their address through an ID, you might as well look up what the house costs too. All of that is valuable, and if Discord starts becoming a problem for people, they should start fleeing the service, and that's happening now. For us at GN, we're considering moving everything to internal services because I'm not going to start uploading IDs, certainly not employee IDs, for a tool like this. It makes no fucking sense. Like, there's other tools out there, a lot of them, and at this point, we think it's worth looking at alternatives. The concern is, again, that this might kind of just happen to all of them that gain success if they are in a position to gain that success to begin with. If you self-host, not a concern, and you no longer have to worry about migrating your whole life and all your friends to new platforms every time this happens. Problem is, self-hosting, not as easy, obviously, and also it's a gigantic barrier to entry where now, if you want to connect with someone new, you make a new friend in Counter-Strike or whatever, you got to explain to them how to go download this app and then get them to connect to your server you made or whatever. That's obviously a huge burden and it's cumbersome, but it does work great for specific groups. It'd work well for us. It'd probably work well for people who have fixed friend groups where you don't...
Wait. Self-hosting what? Is he talking about building a custom application or self-hosting some other app that I didn't hear about?
You maybe play with the same D&D group for 20 years or whatever. There's not much reason for them to be bouncing around between new apps every time. So anyway, stuff to think about. There's some apps out there like Spacebar, Discord.
Something like Matrix? Okay, I don't know anything about Matrix. Does Matrix never have security vulnerabilities or never have issues that pop up with that? That's like a program that's always 100% safe and secure? Because there's like, you run into this weird issue where if you use a really large program, there's a lot more people that are trying to compromise the large program because there's a huge reward for cracking it and gaining access to a ton of user data. That's like the con. But the pro is that large programs will have better support. So if there are vulnerabilities that come out, you've got a huge team of people that are actively working to fix these things and to make sure that they don't, or that they don't happen at all. You've got penetration testers and all these other people. The benefit of using smaller programs or smaller self-hosted things, I guess, is that there are going to be way less people trying to compromise your particular thing. But the trade-off to that is you usually have a much smaller amount of people, and by that I mean usually nobody, that's actively checking for vulnerabilities, and you're not going to be getting like security patches or updates or anything because it's just your own self-made thing or some much smaller thing that has far less support behind it than a larger corporate entity or whatever. I mean, like, there's pros and cons to each. Obviously, you have to figure out what's appropriate for you. But it's not like one is just like clearly superior and better, even from a security standpoint, right?
Stowed, et cetera. We'll probably talk about those in a separate piece, though. But that's it for this one. Thanks for watching. This is part of the AI dystopia coverage series at this point. Unfortunately, you can go to store.gamersnexus.net to support us and that series, or patreon.com/gamersnexus. We'll see you all next time.
Thank you. Bro, this video is 3 hours long. At Destiny, literally every single company that does the ID for safety has either a data breach or just sells its user info. You saying they just want to be better is just stupid. That's not what I said. I'm saying that if they did want to be better, that incentive would also align with makes the company more valuable. So just saying that a thing will make a company more valuable, therefore it's probably bad for you, is not a good argument.
Interested in that big question of God's existence. Hey, I'm going on a tour of the United Kingdom. If you've ever been interested in that big question of God's existence, or tried to make sense of religion in the 21st century, or consciousness, or any anything philosophical, then join me on stage as I try to work out some of these topics with you. I'll be in conversation with a good friend, but also bring questions because there will be an extensive Q&A and maybe even an opportunity to hear and rate some of your philosophical hot takes. The tour dates are on screen. The link to buy tickets is in the description, and I hope to see you there. Joe Schmid, welcome back to the show.
Thanks wow, Joe.
How are you doing, man? We haven't done this in a fair amount of time now, but we were just talking about how popular these episodes seem to be. People like overviews, they like lists, they like comparisons, they like sort of, I don't know what it is about these videos, but people seem to really like them, so I'm glad to have you back today.
I'm glad to be back. I mean, I think it's just because I'm like overwhelmingly sexy. That's the only explanation. The women are just like swooning. Even the guys are swooning. The straight guys are swooning, in fact. That's what happens every time.
I'm sure the people in the comments will let us know, and now, since we said this, there will inevitably be TikTok edits of these comments, so, edit away. We're here today to discuss some of the most popular atheist or like counter-religion, counter-apologetic slogans, and this was your idea, because I want to do another episode with you, and you said, hey, how about this? I don't know about you, but all the time on the internet, not just like in comment sections and stuff, but I see like videos, it's either like people making videos on social media, or it's like clips of someone like Ricky Gervais, and they've got these kinds of like one-liners, and you're seeing people say like, oh, well, I just believe in one God less than you do, or it's like the Ricky Gervais thing went viral kind of recently, right, of like, if all the books were burned in the world, the science ones would come back and the religion ones wouldn't come back, and it's sort of, they turn into these like slogans that atheists use all the time. Now, look, I don't believe in God. I think you don't believe in God, at least the last time I checked you didn't. And I think some of these slogans work, some of them don't. So today, let's go through as many as we can do in a reasonable amount of time and see if we should keep using them. How's it sound?
Sounds good to me. Yeah, I mean, these are often used as like thought-terminating cliches, but or like mic drop moments. So we'll see if we have any mic drop moments in defense of them, or maybe in responding to them. We'll see. I'm sure we'll have some.
Yes, sir. Okay, well, let's start with a claim, which is it Carl Sagan who first said this? It was someone like that. I think it might have been Sagan who said that extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. That's claim one. And I think it's because, a lot of the religious claims that people make are pretty sort of out there. People rising from the dead, supernatural interventions into the world, and people like to say, well, we've got evidence for these things. But for a lot of atheists, it's maybe you can't say, oh, well, you don't have any evidence at all for this kind of stuff, but it isn't really doing it for me. And this is supposed to capture that kind of feeling, I suppose?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, Sagan talks about not only about religion, but also, like alien abduction. I remember watching a video when I was in my new atheist phase of Carl Sagan talking about aliens. And he's just noting that like these claims maybe seem to like be antecedently quite improbable. They run very contrary to our ordinary humdrum experience, to the way we generally know the world to operate. And with claims like that, it seems like you need some pretty strong evidence in order to believe them. Maybe he would cash out extraordinary in some way other than pretty strong evidence, but I think that's maybe the most charitable interpretation here. I mean, we actually might not get sparks flying for this one, because like I think there's a very charitable reading of this slogan, which is just like clearly correct. I don't know about you, but...
Well, I've heard people say in response to this, like, no, extraordinary claims just require ordinary evidence, right? Like, if your sort of epistemological standards are such that I require, X amount of evidence to believe in a claim, I guess there's something about like the prior probability of the claim which makes us want to like heighten the amount of evidence needed. So technically speaking, we might be saying something like, if the prior probability of the thing that you're claiming is much lower, like...
Okay, hold on. Break.
Objectively speaking, if Trump had won in 2020, the country would not be in as bad of a position as it is now. What Biden did by winning and then doing nothing with his presidency to stop Republicans was give him 4 years to recoup. Then Trump came back with a whole cabinet full of loyalists and has done unimaginable harm to the country that'll last decades, if not centuries. You made the best decision with the information available at the time? Yeah, of course. Yeah, I'm not ashamed of that. Sure, like I hope that over time I learn more and I continue to evaluate what I believe. Yeah, I'm not saying what I'm saying out of vindictiveness. I'm telling you guys that the future of this country right now rests on the ability for the Democratic Party to find somebody better than Gavin Newsom. Blah, 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 blah. Everyone's getting real mad over that Hassan podcast snippet where he was talking about not voting for Gavin Newsom if he was up against JD Vance, and he's been getting like everyone blue MAGA has been going after him. It's really frustrating too, because like there are, in my opinion, problems with how Hassan advocates for his positions, and sometimes like his positions themselves are pretty flawed. But the blue MAGA people are like the lowest, like they're the worst. Imagine being a regime dog for a regime that isn't in power, doesn't want to have power, doesn't know what to do with power, and hates you. Like at least being a regime dog for the Republicans, you get to like revel in the like malicious vindictiveness of like 10,000 more brown people to the camps or whatever. But on the Democrat side, like you're getting all of the affect, none of the effect. I have no idea what are you in it for? I don't understand. Where's that bomber from? The one I'm wearing? Imogene and Willie. But they're out of it right now. I got it a while ago. No, they really are just doing it for the love of the game. No more discuss. Look, Masaigu, I know you don't like it when we talk about Gavin Newsom as though he's already the Democratic primary candidate in 2028. But the problem is that that's where the discourse is centered right now. He's one of two people who have so far like effectively put their hat into the ring, or at least like two of the main people being discussed right now. And there are already
like you can tell that these guys aren't serious about political power, because if they were, they would be building their own candidates. Vosh is right in that Newsom is not like, we're really far out and it's just people talking about him to talk about him. But then like why join that? Why talk about him? Why not find your own candidates and build them up? Wouldn't that be better?
People that are trying to like get you to preemptively declare your allegiance to him, even though we're like over.
Nobody's trying. I can't believe this discourse was hijacked so much by a reframing of that. Who do I blame for that? Sam Cedar? It was a hypothetical. If you had to vote for one or the other, who would you vote for? Not like, are you locked in right now? You will support Newsom. No matter what, you will support Newsom. Do the price. You're going to support fucking Newsom. You got to support Newsom. No one is saying this. No one, I don't think anybody's, well, maybe some random person on Twitter, but nobody serious has this opinion.
Year out from a primary. It's crazy. Now the discourse is like, if you don't commit to voting for this awful piece of shit
oh my God.
Republican collaborator, this sociopath, 3 years before the election, then you're basically already a Republican. Yeah, they're already blaming the left for his loss in 2028. It's crazy. It's like we're so done. Trump is such a lame duck that we're role-playing the 2028 presidential election already. What the it's crazy.
For him. Disappointed in
Who do you
Gavin
vote for,
Newsom.
JD Vance or Gavin Newsom?
Well, I'd have to vote for Gavin Newsom.
Me
of
too.
course, 100%.
I wouldn't blink.
There's no
What
doubt.
about you, Hassan?
I'd probably vote third party.
You would?
Oh yeah. I mean, at that point, it doesn't even matter. Like, because my policy on this is the same as like my refusal to endorse Kamala Harris. The reason why I did not endorse Kamala Harris was because she did things that were not only unproductive but also unconscionable. And I still stand on that. I still talk about it all the time because people constantly bring it up. They're like, you didn't sufficiently like promote Kamala Harris. You're the reason why she lost. I'm like, I am incapable. There is no singular force in this country that is capable of.
I don't like Hassan's argument here, but I will say it does kill me a little bit that there are Democrats who will unironically pretend that Biden did nothing wrong during his presidency and that Kamala Harris ran a good campaign. That, to me, it's like, are you worth an argument? Are you worth engaging with? Is this a real conversation, or is this like insane team sportsman partisanship shit, right? Like, wow. I'm speaking from the perspective of a person who argued pretty aggressively for people to vote in favor of Hillary Clinton in 2016 and in favor of Biden in 2020 and Kamala Harris in 2024. So it's not like, I'm not like a long time committed. I made a Twitter post the other day where I said effectively, I expressed some of the opinions that I'm having right now, and I'm getting dogged by like gray zone readers who are like, well, didn't you ride or die for Biden back in 2020 and 2024 or whatever? I got retweeted by Nina Turner, and then she unretweeted me, presumably after somebody let her know who I was. Ooh. So like, it's not like I've cultivated an audience of diehard like never voting for Democrat types or whatever. It's not really like it's pretty difficult to argue that it's like a grift for me. It's just like, if you genuinely don't understand how the behavior of Biden and Kamala both contribute, like so much shit. Biden's insane capitulation to Israel over and over and over again, the lies and the cover-ups, and telling the State Department to not release any information that might like indicate that it's illegal for us to continue supplying them weapons even though they're committing war crimes, when it was the decision of the relevant departments within the State Department that they had been, and then the decision to not functionally have a primary because we were just running with Biden again, even though everyone thought Biden was too old to run again. Like, this was a widely held opinion, and then he drops out bitterly after flubbing the first debate, and Kamala Harris shows up and says, I'm going to do everything that he did, except I'm going to have more Republicans in my cabinet, after Merrick Garland refrained from doing anything legally to Donald Trump. Like, if you can look at all of that and be like, nah, they pretty much did perfectly. The only reason Kamala lost because of those damn lefties. It was those damn Bernie or busters, even though all data like points to the
It's so funny, now I'm not necessarily grouping Voshin with Hassan here, but it is funny that I hear this back and forth so much between lefties had nothing to do with us losing the election, so stop blaming them. But then anytime like the far lefties are talking, their position is, we are the sole reason you lost the election. You need to capitulate to us completely. It's very funny to oscillate back and forth between these two arguments.
Like, the idea that it was hardcore leftists that cost Kamala the win in 2024 is just completely not supported by the data. Like, you're not worth engaging with. You're like subhuman. You're not, like genuinely, you're not worth engaging with at all. It's just seeing the engagement from these blue MAGA types I'm going to lose my mind. They're genuinely like worse than the MAGA people. Because again, at least like the MAGA people, I understand from an emotional perspective how like locked in they are in the regime. For the MAGA,
did the latest court filings get covered? No, I think we did our motion for summary judgment, I think 2 weeks ago, and then they just did their response, and then we'll do a reply, and it is what it is. Maybe the next update is just, hey guys, just got home from the trial. We finished. Because I don't know if anything. Maybe we just don't ever. We're waiting. Someday we're gonna get a ruling on something. Maybe.
People like the Trump regime right now is literally like the burning ember that they're clinging to. This was like their big cultural moment, and it's dying, and they're desperate to keep it aflame for as long as they can. Like, they're carrying the flame, et cetera, right? But like, that's not what's happening with Democrats. You could just choose a better Democrat. You don't have to do this. There's
Jones gets a reply wasn't interesting. You really might just make it straight to trial at this point. Yeah, apparently I guess one of the things they're hinging on is like, I think they brought up Melina's name 3 times, which is funny because in the beginning, Melina was talking to Pixie and they stopped talking. So my guess is Melina doesn't want to have anything to do with any of this. Number one, not that Pixie cares, because Pixie loves abusing raped or abused women or injured women if it furthers her fucking cause, because Pixie literally doesn't give a fuck about anything besides her own white girl reputation. And then 2, so they're after Melina. Me and Melina never spoke about Pixie, like, really ever, so they're not even going to find anything. 3, Melina could just invoke marital privilege, because I don't think she has to testify to this at all. 4, me and Melina any conversation we would have had about this is going to be way, way, way long ago, when it would have been outside of statute range anyway. So it's just like, them hinging on this is just so desperate and pathetic. But it's not desperate and pathetic. I'm speaking as though they're trying to win. I've done a lot more reading now into Jones' litigation history in the past. Joan is just basically like a scam lawyer for basically her family and the families around her in Puerto Rico, Pixie's family included, that just does a bunch of bullshit, frivolous lawsuits in order to get people to pay out settlements. So it's not surprising then that the goal is to just try to do whatever they can to draw things out as much as possible using AI-generated fucking responses or cases or whatever the fuck else, because this is literally all she's capable of. And I understand now, this will all be part of my manifesto. Pixie's going to law school so that she can take over that role in the family of just being basically a frivolous lawyer to do things on behalf of her dad.
Nothing requiring
Fun
you
times.
to attach yourself to this fight the way that you are. You could just choose you could just advocate for a better Democrat if you want. There's nothing locking you in. It's not a cult of personality. I don't get it.
When you say advocate for a better Democrat, though, you mean a Democrat that you would like more. Not a Democrat that would be more electorally popular. Although I know they just assume that. Well, of course they'd be more electorally popular if you like them. But then find them and run them. Why is it the Dems' job to find a socialist candidate that the socialists like? It's so spoiled and entitled and stupid. Like, why would you even want the Dems to find that person? Shouldn't you find that person and promote them? Like, you guys? No, maybe, possibly, maybe, no.
They're libs? Okay, they're actually not liberals. The blue MAGA types that I'm describing right now genuinely are not advocates for liberal values. They're largely anti-left contrarians that are like in it for the team sports reasons. They're not guided by any principle belief. Any actual liberal, like real, like, you know, I don't know, John Locke style liberal or whatever, would currently be issuing fatwas against the Democratic Party for refusing to prosecute Trump during Merrick Garland's reign as Attorney General. Like any actual liberals right now would be like stockpiling ammunition in their basements. It's not like it's this particular kind of like hyper capitulation, like pretends to fight the fight, but in reality they only care about arguing with leftist type. That's not like, those aren't actually liberals. They're not governed by liberalism. Notice that nothing that I've said in this entire segment thus far has had anything to do with socialism. Not one. I have not mentioned it once, and not a single.
Are any of these lefties ever specific about why they don't like Newsom? I don't know. There's like a smorgasbord. I don't know how you pronounce that word. Of talking points about him hating trans people, or him platforming extremists, or him apparently single-handedly denying single-payer healthcare in California. None of these are usually true when you dig into them. There's like they're stretching something past, really they're reading too much into it, or it's just a bunch of dumb stupid talking points. The reality is they just want like a Bernie Sanders type socialist type person, and anybody that's not that person they're not going to support. And even if that person did come about, who the fuck even knows that they would support them?
Single point in time have I mentioned like, well, the big line in the sand here that's differentiating me from these people is like the belief in the commodity form or whatever. That's not the line. If anything, I'm the rep for liberalism here. I've never met a blue MAGA person IRL. I will say that is they are much rarer. Yeah, but unfortunately, a lot of them are like Hill consultants and staffers. There are a lot of them in media. There are a lot of them on the Hill, but in real life, yeah, not as much of a problem. Also, like, keep in mind that sincerely, Gavin Newsom is one of the top running preemptive candidates in the Democratic primary.
Newsom is, he has, you say preemptive candidate, I guess preemptive has to be said here because it's not even announced that he's running for presidency. We're not even at the midterms yet.
Newsom and Kamala Harris, the two people that Democrats most often like pitch for. And we know he's going to run. Do you have a source in that Nina Turner post? You mean that she retweeted then unretweeted me? Yeah, in my mentions I have Nina Turner retweeted me, and then I thought it was funny, so I looked at her feed and I wasn't there. So presumably she retweeted me and then unretweeted me. Oh, the thing she retweeted was this post from the Gravel Institute. Remember those guys? In 2019, if Democrats nominate Joe Biden, he may win and will have 4 years of weak, feckless Democratic.
Like the Gravel Institute, why would you quote them here? They were going to hate any candidate. These guys, the Gravel Institute, were like these were the ones that's propped up in response to what university? The weird conservative guy. Oh fuck. Who am I thinking of? PragerU. That was it. PragerU, not university. PragerU. These guys said so much retarded shit, but I guess we're going to source the one. Even Vosh, I think, would agree that these guys said so much retarded shit, but we're going to source the one thing I guess we agree with them on? Okay.
Leadership. And then in 4 years, he'll be defeated by a Republican Party even more openly white nationalist. If you nominate an Obama redux, you get a worse Trump redux. There were blue MAGA people arguing against this, by the way. They were like, that didn't happen. I have no idea what like level of reality you have to be. Like, that's why I say blue MAGA. Like, you're not in reality. I have no idea what the this is 1-to-1, man. Yeah, who could have seen this coming? We did. Prophetic. Leftists were saying that ever since Biden threw his hat in the ring. Literally from day one. Leftists, including me, were like, look, man, it's not even about whether or not Biden would be like a good candidate or whatever. It's that we saw that weak, pseudo-liberal centrism under Obama led to Trump. Like, we see the pattern. This is going to happen again. And then it did. It's not like, yeah, it's not crazy to see this coming. It's just like there's so much propaganda out there, like the liberal media. And by liberal, I mean like the liberal media, not like all media or whatever. But like they don't really engage with this point. They refuse to engage with anything beyond the consequences of the next election. Well, Biden would have been better than Trump. Yeah, well, he was better than Trump, and he would have been better than Trump. But look what happened anyway. Look what keeps happening, man. Look what keeps happening. Historians aren't going to measure this era of American history by term. They're going to measure it by Trump, by person. We've been living under Trump for 10 years. You could have put an end to this if you had prosecuted him, but you didn't. You chose not to. My dad sketched a portrait of you during one of your last streams. Again, I'm interspersing the real segment with this because I think that's delightful, as I do think this is delightful. It's recognizably the Capitol jacket too. That's so cute. Thank you, your dad. In response to all this business, Welch respond to the people getting mad at Hassan.
Usurp the chef. This is intellectually dishonest completely from top to bottom. Gavin Newsom has proven that he doesn't care about trans people. Gavin Newsom has proven that he doesn't care about the illegal nature of what ICE is doing when he platformed Ben Shapiro. And so to put the
got dog walked by Ben Shapiro. We watched almost that entire interview and it was insane. Ben Shapiro isn't even like a relevant figure anymore, but Ben just walked over him. Gavin would not engage in any disagreement. It genuinely, like stuff like that, it really does make me think like I don't know if you're enslaved by Israel or you're like, this is what you think you need to do to run, like you make your pitch for a Republican presidential run. I have no idea what you're doing, but it was absolutely psychotic. I couldn't believe it.
The burden of this on Hassan, who's saying, I'm not going to settle for a fascist collaborator who always is reaching to platform fascists and to find common ground with them. It's just intellectually dishonest because Hassan has a record of standing up for trans people. And when Gavin Newsom did that,
what is that record? God,
if that's the case, then why do I see so many post-FFS trans women say, hot tip, don't tell Hassan Piker you're trans when they post pictures of them with like bandages on their face,
Pain was felt through the trans community far and wide. And Pete Buttigieg did the same. And Rahm Emanuel came on my podcast and did the same. And so to say that Hassan doesn't care about marginalized groups is completely disingenuous because what he's saying is, I'm not buying the lie that Gavin Newsom does. I'm not buying that anymore.
I don't think any of that.
Removed from the surrounding retarded Vosh context, do you think he has a point with the frustration about Garland? Yeah, but guess who else had a frustration with Garland? Liberals. All of us were frustrated with that. We had so many arguments. Josiah was a Garland, I'll just say hater, because any more extreme word to accurately describe his position would get me banned. Everybody was frustrated with how slow that went. Yeah.
You believe that? There are seriously people on Twitter who are like, Hassan, you don't care about trans people. That's why we need to support Gavin Newsom. That guy who had Epstein collaborator and far-right propagandist Steve Bannon and white nationalist hyper-influencers Charlie Kirk on to agree with both of them, compliment them on the strategy, and specifically argue that the left went too far with regards to trans rights. Like, yeah, man, phenomenal allyship.
Specifically argue that? I feel like that was one point that came up out of was it an hour and a half or 2 hour podcast? Jesus Christ, people are so hyper fixated on that.
Because each time I do, or each time we do, it incubates a more and more fascist culture.
It's funny because, like, to be fair, now I haven't watched the Ben Shapiro talk yet, so I don't have an opinion on that yet. But, like, there is a criticism to be made of Gavin Newsom here, and the criticism might just be that, regardless of what you think about the podcast, Gavin Newsom is not the person who should be hosting these podcasts. It should be somebody else. Like, Gavin Newsom's job or role as a as a Democrat leader who's supposed to be leading the fight against the Republicans right now, right? That Newsom's role here is not to have podcasts where he's trying to like break bread with the craziest conservatives or find common ground. Maybe you could make an argument that he could do that with Massey types or with Never Trumpers, maybe, but maybe it's just not his position right now. It's just not his role right now to be doing these types of shows. And I think I actually would agree with that. I think I would make that argument actually. I don't think Newsom should be, because his rhetoric is so hard in other areas, which is good. But then the only reason I'm hedging here is because I haven't seen the show with Shapiro. Maybe I think it was, or maybe I would think it would be combative if I would watch it. Maybe I would think maybe I would think it was combative if I watched the show. I feel like I used 3 verb tenses in that sentence.
Here's the part of the video that they cut out that I think provides incredible context for the remainder of our conversation. Pop this up, Kylie. Enthusiastically.
I mean, Newsom isn't even above water in California with voters. That's true, Masaigu, but never underestimate Democrats' willingness to commit to a very bad and unpopular bid. If the deep state wants to commit $2 billion to ad runs with him, they will run forward with him. I mean, this is literally what they did with Biden. Remember that in the 2020 primary, Biden wasn't even like a huge force coming in. Of course, he had the incumbency benefit of having been the VP, but it was much more of an open race, I think, in a lot of people's minds. Not necessarily for Bernie, but I think people kind of expected it to be a bit more play. But everyone fell in line behind Biden in large part because of the centrally pushed narrative of electability. Are you sure Biden?
This is a delusion that progressives tell themselves. Vosh is usually better on this than other people, and it kind of is. But there was some idea in that primary that I remember these exact tweets. Oh God, somebody tweeted out because Bernie could never get above 25-30% in the support for the Democratic Party, just couldn't in the 2020 primary. He just, for whatever reason, he just was never able to crack that ceiling. And there were people like me who were arguing that it's probably going to be a more moderate Dem because it just seems to be the case. And then I remember there were tweets from, it was some crazy lefty loser guy. I don't think it was Ben Burgess. I don't remember. Somebody who was like, okay, well, when all three moderate candidates merge to create some hybrid alien entity, then maybe they'll be able to beat Bernie Sanders. And then I think the two other moderate candidates, whoever's left, they dropped out, and then all the voting did go to Biden, and then he won. It was like, okay, well, it wasn't really that hard to foresee. But then they all lost their shit over it, saying it was like a rigged primary because they should have stayed in it till the very end to let Bernie win with this 25%. Was that Kalinsky? Maybe it was Kalinsky who tweeted. I don't know.
And swept the black vote in the primary. Yeah, but they're like 13% of the population. You know, it's not just about that. And also, the reason he swept the black vote in the primary, well, for one part of it's because he was Obama's VP, but also because, again, like that narrative, black voters tend to vote conservative in Democratic primaries. He was like the centrist moderate relative to other people who had been swayed more to the left because of Bernie's popularity. All I'm saying is that do not get complacent. Just because Gavin Newsom is obviously unfit to run for president does not mean that he won't run, and it doesn't mean they won't back him. That's all I'm saying.
Crawl through 10 feet of concrete for all of the marginalized people.
Do you feel like the Democrats know that, and that's why they get away with their ineptitude?
100%.
That's what I mean.
Yeah,
so I'm like,
okay, pause right
I don't even.
So Hassan clocked me right there, and I'll own it because my politics are open-minded. They're not fixed. I don't play nanny boo-boo politics. Oh my God, you said you would vote third party, therefore you must be canceled. Number one, Hassan's not a politician. Number two, Hassan gets to think whatever he thinks. Number three, there is a large growing number of Americans in
Vosh during Biden's term as it was ongoing. Biden outperformed my expectations as the most progressive president of my lifetime. Vosh after Biden's term, yes, so Biden was the most status quo president ever conceived in the laboratory. I don't think I said either of it. Well, actually, I said the former thing, and I stand by that. In my lifetime, yes, Biden was the most progressive president. That's true. And he was also not nearly progressive enough. Those aren't contradictory statements. I don't understand like the snarky framing. Like these things are true. He was not the most status quo president ever. He was unambiguously the status.
Congratulations. I don't have it. Good job, buddy. Good, but yeah, I fucking died.
Can't believe you killed this poor man over here for no reason, and he had nothing, and you killed him in cold blood. Why would you do that? Why would you do that?
No, kill me. Kill me right now. Check my shit. I swear I have nothing. I swear I have nothing. I literally spawned in with no kit.
He's got nothing. So that means you were lying. Unbelievable. Not cool.
Quo like rally candidate of the 2020 primary. That's without a doubt true. You know, not the most status quo person there, but the one around whom the votes like sort of congealed, I guess, to use a negative verb. Yeah, you almost took my channel down with that take.
Wait. Oh, the surveyor thing? It went that way.
Yeah. I'm just trying to kill that.
Fuck. Do you think that guy's gonna come back and try to kill me? Jesus. A lot of weird stuff going on here. Oh no. Oh, Jesus. Stop! These fucking...
Careful. You got me like Trump over here. Bullet just whizzed past my ear. But no, like, yeah, obviously, Biden was relatively progressive on social issues and pretty good on unions and worker rights. The main problem, again, was that he was weak and feckless, right? Like, he had no cultural power. Biden basically couldn't speak, and his staffers hid him from the media, so he didn't really have the ability to...
I mean, like, this is kind of true in that he had no cultural power, but also, like, and I understand, I guess I just have to accept as an American, we're in a different era now. I kind of liked that. I don't need my president to be, like, my culture leader. I don't need my president to be on social media constantly making epic tweets and epic... I kind of like that I don't know what Biden was eating yesterday or who he's beefing with or what new nickname he invented for some political adversary. I kind of like that. Like, maybe that's like a good thing. We don't necessarily need our presidents to be comedians or culture leaders, but...
sway the cultural zeitgeist in favor of the things they advocated for. He personally was pretty good on unions and personally wasn't bad on social progressivism, except for obviously Israel. Like, we're not even getting at Israel here. But like, his personal weakness and his unwillingness to rally the party meant that he spent most of his term beefing with Manchin and cinema, you know, and he wasn't able to communicate his vision clearly to the public. His big like policy, you know,
well,
the omnibus,
I mean, he got lots of legislation passed with these people, but
infrastructure bill, which just passed through like budget reconciliation, you know, he never was able to like really convey a message, and that's weakness. I mean, not even to speak of Israel or Trump and Manchin, sorry, not Manchin, Garland, you know.
Gen Z and as millennials that have felt completely unseen and left behind by the two-party political system, who hate and despise how much they suck up to corporations, who see the moral duplicity in a Hakeem Jeffries, a Gavin Newsom, a Chuck Schumer, a Cory Booker, who take money from the MAGA corporate donors and also take it from them. And so when Hassan said that to me, do you think the Democrats know that and take your vote for granted? And I said 100%. He's right, because they do. Because
they do. Republicans fight so aggressively to expand their margins for like everyone. They do it dishonestly. Like of course they're lying like the whole time, but the Republicans aggressively market themselves. They're always making the argument that you should vote for them. Democrats, sometimes it feels like they don't even know how to do that. Like Democrats don't even explain why you should vote for them anymore. They just look at you like this, Baron Harkonnen face. Or not, that's not Baron Harkonnen. Sorry, that's.
Well, I mean, yes, this is an issue, and I do agree with it, which is why I think the Dems need stronger leadership. But the issue is not just like they look at you and they don't know what to say. The issue is they look at you and they're speaking about policies and things that matter instead of like the most epic tweets they could be making, which is all the American public has a fucking appetite for now, which is that's the big issue. But
that's the guy from the whale. different fat guy, sorry, or whatever it's called. But you get me. Like they don't. Every time you get into a discussion, like, well, what is a Democrat president going to do for me? It seems like the main argument Democrats have is like, well, he's not going to be Trump. It's like, that's great, man. But after the last guy who wasn't Trump came back. So it seems like you're not really doing that much, you know?
I have this red state trauma. So I end up thinking, okay, I'm going to do a harm reduction vote. The reason why this conversation is so important, listener, is because we have time right now to have these conversations and to move our politicians to a progressive populist.
I respect this woman. She's genuinely, she's very good. She's very good. I like her a lot.
Platform. We have the opportunity right now to rid ourselves via primaries of corporate Democrats who lie to us and use our votes and take advantage of our votes and our compassion for marginalized groups and use them to their advantage to then curry favor with corporations and then go make massive stock exchange trades while in Congress. Okay, continue with that clip.
I mean, a great example of how bad this has gotten is that, like, basically no Democrats right now are farming off of the horrendous shit going on in Minnesota by saying that they would abolish ICE or that the party should abolish ICE, even though there'd be no consequences to doing it, and it's obviously the right thing to do politically and morally. I cannot overstate this enough to you guys. ICE doesn't need to exist. It literally doesn't. Like, you could redistribute the functionality of ICE back to the DOJ. You could abolish the entire Department of Homeland Security and have all of its apparatuses fairly redistributed to the Department of Justice.
Like, this is true, but this was not the left position a long time ago. It feels like the left position a long time ago was like, we just shouldn't do interior immigration enforcement. That's the feeling that I had. It might be the hesitancy or the reluctance to go along with the whole like abolish ICE thing. I do think we should push the abolish ICE message, maybe. But it's hard because, man, the people that you were associated with when you were on that wacky shit before were basically people who it felt like they thought there should just be no immigration enforcement inside at all. It really did, because those were like the loudest and craziest people online. It was like the abolish the police people. Like now they'll say, well, when we said abolish the police, what we really meant, not abolish the police, sorry, defund the police. What we really meant was we just wanted to shift away funding from hardcore policing types into areas where we could focus more on mental health and have people that go along with police officers that can deal with mental health crises, blah, blah, blah. It's like, okay, I don't believe that. That's not really, I don't believe that. That wasn't what the overall messaging was like before. Or if it was, you guys fucked it up so much and everybody was so fucking confused about it that there was no there was no coalescing around this point in a meaningful way. Like it just didn't happen.
And the security apparatuses, and it would work fine. It would work fine. And
yeah, that's another thing too. Imagine you have the whole abolish ICE narrative, and then you get one fucking mass shooter who's an illegal immigrant or something, and they kill 7 people, and now you've fucked yourself so hard on the election. Oh God, what a fucking nightmare scenario that would be.
Border Patrol is not a matter of Homeland Security anyway. It's a matter of justice. It's a matter of the law. It's not about it's not like even the term, or Department of Homeland Security, like fighting terrorism and yoinking Jorge and his 3 children at the border are the same thing. Like, what are you talking about? These are obviously different things. Why are you folding these into the same category? One of them is basic, like, civil law, and the other one is national security, intelligence. Yeah, I don't know. Like, but Dems won't do it. Dems won't do it. They'll say, like, ICE shouldn't exist in this form. I don't think a lot of them would even cut its funding. Have they ever cut its funding? Do you know of a Democrat that has successfully lowered the funding of the Pentagon or of ICE or anything of that sort? Or even really pushed for it? They did vote to raise it. They raised it every year under Biden. Every year, ICE's budget went up.
I've been entertaining that stuff, especially this far out from an election. But even in the primary season, that's immediately the conversation is like, well, whoever is the candidate, you're going to vote for them, right? And you know what's really indecent about that too? They never return the favor for left flank candidates, because no one ever made hay about Bernie Sanders potentially becoming the candidate, and all of the articles that came out about how Trump might be more preferable to Bernie Sanders. Because they were writing those. Liberals were writing those articles talking about how, the head of Goldman Sachs, who was like, I'm a lifetime Democratic Party voter. I think, Donald Trump is better than Bernie Sanders.
I know. It's really bad. We're still like 2 years out from the primary too. It's only gonna get worse. Didn't Kathy Hochul just return the favor to Mamdani Hassan attacked it? Yeah, I disagree with him. I did like a 30-minute segment disagreeing with Hassan there. It's not about like defending Hassan. It's just like
this is intellectually
the blue MAGA
dishonest
people
completely.
represent a trend in the Democratic Party
blue
who
MAGA
are like
saying,
legitimately
Jesus.
as dangerous, if not more dangerous, to this country. The blue MAGA people represent a tendency within the Democratic Party to never grow or change and to never work to appeal to people. And that shit is legitimately more dangerous than any individual Republican. Like, these people could be Republican plants and it would make more sense. I know they're not, but they could be, and it would make more sense. Like, our master stroke for destroying destroying the Democratic Party is we're going to flood it with bots and like paid operatives, and their job is to accuse you of being entitled and crazy and a Republican collaborator unless you're all willing to fall behind the least effective, most odious, unlikable Democratic candidate who will offer you nothing. And
all of this fucking discourse that's happening all over Twitter, all across all these YouTube channels and all these people, all of it just stemmed from people not understanding, I guess, the initial hypothetical of like, if it was JD Vance or Gavin Newsom, who would you vote for? Now it's morphed into this weird, like, they're trying to say that all of us need to get behind Gavin Newsom right now. It's like, nobody's saying this. I don't know anybody that's saying this. Nobody's saying this. This is a nonsense position that nobody inhabits right now because it would obviously be stupid.
Then just like watch them get torn apart via infighting, you know? Super, super dangerous stuff. Thankfully, Blue MAGA is exponentially smaller than MAGA, and they only have power Twitter. Yeah, but the party acts as though they're all the guys. Like, the Democratic Party acts as though that's the mandate of the party is the problem. Like, they act with the confidence of a party that is backed by 100 million people who all think that you're a fascist unless you vote for Gavin Newsom. We need to be louder. Much louder. Like, I'm just saying, like, this is how elections work at the most basic level. Like, I'm saying, if Gavin Newsom wins the primary, his ass is not getting my vote. That's me warning you ahead of time. So it's very direct consequence. Okay, so put a different guy up there, or a girl even, if we want to get woke with it. I'm just like, like, it's very basic. You know, I'm just warning them ahead of time. I'm trying to let them know you shouldn't want Gavin Newsom up there anyway. He sucks. Who would you be voting for? If it really did end up being Newsom versus JD Vance, I think the best outcome morally, long term, would be the lowest possible turnout on both sides. No matter who wins, if the total turnout was like the 35% or some insanely low number like that, that would be the best case scenario, I think, because the idea would be like a reaffirming, like, you wanted to make it very clear nobody wants either of these people. These people are both.
Yeah, but that's fine for online discourse, but then one side would have a real political power. These people, this is what I mean when I say these people don't have like politics in mind. They're not thinking about politics. They're thinking about like social media posts. Like, political power is about winning elections, and him saying like, well, a low turnout would be good for whatever reason, but you've lost the election.
Awful. Like, I think depressing the vote as much as possible would be the morally, like, it would be the harm reduction option. That way, if Gavin Newsom wins, everyone knows nobody really.
But then you're just hoping that the next 4 years are meaningless, that whoever's in office doesn't matter, and nothing matters, and who cares who wins because nothing changes or does anything anyway. Like, it's such a bankrupt position.
He likes him. If JD Vance wins, likewise, the fact that neither of them are actually popular means neither of them can get much done, which is fine by me because JD Vance will be disempowered and Gavin Newsom wouldn't be able to do anything anyway because he's a feckless Dem who would just like cede power to corporations. You don't need to be that powerful if you're just a status quo candidate. So yeah, having the voter turnout be as low as possible there would probably be the best possible option. That would be like the most morally beneficial long-term direction to go in. Okay. Bloomberg is pushing Newsom. The comments are all negative. That's funny. Oh, well, 37 minutes.
Inspired by a lot of our politicians and by our politics in the past, and now on the other side of maybe feeling a little more desperate about the moment we're living in. The blatant corruption that is occurring on an hourly, not just daily basis. It sickens me in my core as an American.
You sound very sincere, very broken up about it.
Father.
What's up with these comments? Like, if he was crying, would you say, oh, he seems sincere? Like, Jesus.
As a guy who grew up in the Bay Area, and to watch some of my old friends participate in that, I need to be more accountable to this moment.
Why should people trust you?
Trust me. I mean, I am who I am, and I've been a.
I guess that's all you really can say when your entire record is just you like shamelessly flip-flopping and capitulating and agreeing with Republicans and backtracking on progressives. Like, what else are you going to say? You know,
I've been an open book for decades, and people know me best have elected me to many offices. There was an effort to recall me. The last 3 elections, we won by margins of 20+%. So, I mean, that issue, I think, has been substantively addressed for them.
That's such an dude, we won by margins of 20+% in an insane recall vote in a blue state for a Democratic governor. That's insane. That's not.
What do you think blue state means? Do you think blue state means 90% of the people are Democratic voter? How many people in California vote Republican? California vote 2024 presidential election. What was the divide? 38.33%. So Kamala won California by 20 points. So it's not like it's like 90% vote Democrat and 10% vote Republican or something. Like, sometimes I wonder, do these people think that blue states or that red states are like 95% conservative voters? Also, for you to claim over and over again that Newsom is horrible and everybody hates him and Californians hate him and Californians know him best and he wins his recall attempt there. I mean, like, what? I wish these people would point to policies or something or anything. I don't know.
Margins of 20+% in an insane recall vote in a blue state for a Democratic governor. That's insane. That's not something to brag about, man. Jesus Christ.
Those that chronicle me, literally and figuratively, that know me best in the state and certainly in the Bay Area.
The person who knows Newsom best of all is his wife, Jennifer Siebelman.
Really, really like honest journalism here. Phenomenal stuff. Meet the news.
Who was a vocal ally, Florida governor, MBA, and perhaps.
I get the sort of corporate side of their decision-making, sadly. So I think the vast majority will, quote-unquote, come back. I don't think they've gone that.
Why would they be giving his wife any airtime unless this was an anticipation of a presidential run? Like, the only context in which Newsom's wife would be relevant would be as first lady. This isn't the kind of puff piece he would do unless you were interested in, like, piping them up for a presidential run. And from
could it also just be that Newsom's probably like the most popular politician in the United States of America right now, and that literally every single person has their eyes on him for leadership for the Democratic Party? Like he might run. I'm not going to sit here and say he's not going to, but like the idea that the establishment is already preparing to put him forth as our candidate, like, okay.
Bloomberg originals, no less. From everyone's favorite Republican, Bloomberg. Not actually a Republican, but what's the difference?
Far is perceived.
How do you...
Just like, again, the law firms and universities are sold out, just like the supine Congress is sold out. These guys are not screwing around. They're ruthless. And so we have to push back. And so our comms has shifted. I'm starting to understand the nature of attention. You understand that in a business perspective, the attention economy and all the like. But in politics, this guy floods the zone. He dominates the narrative. Illusion rules. The narrative is what matters, not facts. And so we've got to fight with fire.
Oh my God. They're pumping up their press office account.
Was there a moment you decided to break the glass? Did you have to
the intern that just like posts AI generated.
talk about it? Like how would you...
I had to talk to her about it because I said, just FYI, some of your friends may be going, what the hell is this? Why is your husband's picture on Mount Rushmore? I had explained this is literally a mirror image of what Trump put out a few months ago.
He's so
People need to be a lot more cynical about this, man. It's not lay epic trolling or whatever. Gavin Newsom is just cynically mimicking rhetorical strategies he sees working on the right. It's the same thing that he did with his Republican podcast where he...
To make fun of them, what, like, okay. Man, okay. Jesus Christ. Like, where is your candidate? Put up your own fucking candidate so that we can criticize him. You guys have nobody on your side. You're running nobody. You have nobody to even talk about. So you're obsessing on our side. Like, go away.
Brings these fascists on and he's like, good point. You really had us on that one, you know? Good point. Credit to you there, you know? He's just acknowledging the information environment. Yeah, the narrative that he hates Republicans more than anything else is insane. Like, he does not. He's one of the most openly collaborationist governors.
I don't like this word either. I get major Sussy Baka vibes when I hear the word collaborationist. That's like a mega weirdo socialist term. That's like you're working with a Nazi, you're a collaborator, you're a party collaborator, you collaborate against the party. It's a very fucking weird term. Maybe it's escaped that orbit and it's being used by more normal people, but I hate that fucking word. It's so fucking weird.
If not the most out there. It was such a weird narrative. Do you think of Newsom as to the right of Biden? I don't understand how, when you have videos like this of him 20 years ago illegally organizing lesbian marriages. Those things are incongruent. You're making the mistake of assuming that Newsom believes in anything. Newsom
Jesus Christ.
Doesn't personally have an issue with gay people marrying because it doesn't get in his way, but he would happily sell out the rights of queer people if it gave him the presidency, or if it helped him achieve like a broader like consensus within Congress. He doesn't. He truly does not believe in anything. Can I get examples of policies of his that are egregiously centrist or worse? I mean, the most recent thing he did as governor to that point was he argued against Ro Khanna's wealth tax proposal. He said he would veto.
Oh my God, the wealth tax, bro. Nobody in I think Norway is like the only fucking European country that even has any kind of fucking wealth tax. This is your example policy? He opposes a wealth tax? Come on. And Ro Khanna's proposal is dead on arrival in Congress. Even the Democrats don't support this. Nobody supports this. It's such a fucking these are the loser talking points. These are such loser talking points.
Even if it made it through California's Congress, which is insane. A wealth tax is the only way this country survives in the long run. It's popular with Democrats.
My God.
Also, like, again, I'm not getting over Gavin Newsom refusing to say shit on Israel, pretending he's never heard of AIPAC before, and then bringing multiple Republican fascists on to just agree with them on everything. I'm not getting over that, dude. That's crazy. That's not just bad for a politician. If I had a friend or a relative who did anything even remotely that bad, I would genuinely like never talk to them again. It wasn't just like, oh, they incidentally met at a third-party event and they like chatted. Like you have some images or whatever of like Clinton's or Obama like being somewhat cordial with Trump, and I don't really care about that. I don't expect them to fist fight the moment they see each other, I guess. I mean, with the Clintons and Trump, we know they spent a lot of time together in particular, but I mean like just incidental photos. This was like he invited them.
There's that Epstein thing. They're all pedophiles, by the way. Left and right, same.
Them on specifically to agree with them and give them credit. And these are really far-right people too. Bannon, Epstein-affiliated Bannon. I specifically talking about
it. Is that why we don't like Bannon? Because of Epstein? That's the reason we don't like Bannon? Okay.
Him being to the right of Biden. Again, he doesn't believe in things. Biden does have real beliefs. Gavin Newsom doesn't. Gavin Newsom flip-flops on issues, whatever he thinks gives him the better mandate in the future. And he's not even particularly good at it. It's not about his consistent positions. It's about his trustworthiness in the long term. But Gavin is to the right of Biden. That is true. Gavin would never be as pro-labor rights as Biden. Easily. Like that's like a dead center call right there. No way in hell Gavin Newsom would ever be as pro-labor rights as Biden. Yeah. Also, to my memory, unlike Gavin, Biden never said the left went too far defending trans people. Wait, Biden was pro-labor rights? Yeah, Biden was pretty good about that. One of the best presidents in American history. Hard to beat FDR, but yeah, he was.
Vaush's point is mostly that the Democrat he would support would have to convince him they wouldn't let a Republican win in 2032. And supporting the wealth tax he views is an existential need. Hello? Why would you be looking that far ahead when you can't even win the elections that are right in front of you? Why would anybody believe that you're the person with the answers for where the Democratic Party should move in an election 8 years from now when you can't win the election that's right before you?
Pretty good about it. Not perfect, but pretty good. He was pretty good on queer stuff, too. Yeah. Would you describe Newsom as Machiavellian? Yeah, but bad at it. An example is Gavin signed a law protecting trans people's rights in sports, but the moment Trump got into power, he said, I'll look into changing that law. Yeah, because he didn't actually believe it in the first place. Like, he would be the biggest advocate for wokeness ever if it was a 90-10 issue. But in a country where it's a 60-40 issue, on either side, he's like, I don't know. All my principles are actually, I don't know. I got to think about it. Newsom has done more for trans people than for most governors. He's the governor in California. He just signs the bills. I feel like you're deliberately misunderstanding me, okay? He does what he thinks gets him power. I'm not saying he's the most reactionary person on earth. I'm saying that he will shift to adopt the positions that he thinks benefit him. He's not principled, which is why you can see multiple multi-hour interviews where he talks to fascists and agrees with them and refuses to defend positions that he ostensibly has, because he's softballing, he's soft pitching the idea of like being this unifying centrist candidate who will correct the mistakes of the left and not go too far, but also will be more responsible than the worst elements of the right. That's his point. Like, that's the point that I'm making here. His actual record is almost immaterial, but his record is still pretty bad. How do you deal with people who say that that's him doing his job of representing the majority interest? That is an insane pro-sociopathy position. Like, we want our politicians to not believe in anything and backtrack on every issue they claim to support the moment the needle takes over. That's insane. That's like this value neutral majoritarianism. Why not just have computers run society then at that point? Why not decide everything by referendum? Why bother vote for anyone? That's insane. Not to mention, like, you have the responsibility to persuade voters, right? Like, voter preference doesn't shift on its own. Stuff happens to voter preferences over time. And also, he's really bad at it because he had Steve Bannon on his podcast and agreed with him on shit. Do you think that's the majoritarian opinion in California or in the country? That's like, listen, okay. I know the Democratic Party is quaking in their boots. I'm letting them know they're on notice. I'm not voting for him. I'm sorry. I'm letting them know. I'm being responsible. It would be irresponsible of me to withhold that information up until the last moment. I'm letting them know. So find a different guy. And don't find a worse guy, preferably. Seems like this Bannon thing is a poison pill for you. Yeah, it's pretty bad. Bringing one of the architects of the MAGA movement, who is also a longtime friend of Epstein, genuinely one of the most evil people with any influence on the White House, to bring him on to agree with him on his strategy. Yeah, that's pretty bad. That's yep, yes, sir. Listen, if I'm willing to stop supporting Noam Chomsky over that affiliation, you bet I'll do it with Gavin Newsom. Okay, Noam
Chomsky, the 95-year-old crazy. Oh wow, so brave.
Chomsky is a hell of a lot more impressive of a person than Gavin Newsom. If I'm willing to drop Chomsky, I'm going to drop Newsom over it too. Brave. I think that's a pretty easy call. It's the literacy thing again. We've had this discussion. We had it yesterday. Sometimes, like, the conversation, the talking points just go right over people's heads. There's not really anything you can do. If JD Vance wins, he'll be worse than Trump not voting against this moronic. You're genuinely just several levels behind the conversation. It's not even necessarily your fault. Why do people keep defending Newsom? Masaigu, because a lot of people don't care about outcomes. They just want fealty to the Democratic Party. And there are people who watch me and think I'm one of the good ones because they perceive my deference to the party in the past as unlimited loyalty. Because I thought it would be better if Hillary Clinton won, or if Biden won, or if Kamala Harris won. But they thought that was like an axiomatic position. They thought that was something that I would believe no matter what. That there was no set of conditions that would change my belief on that. But of course, I'm a consequentialist. I think consequentially the harm of Gavin Newsom winning would be greater than the harm of JD Vance winning. So the harm reduction candidate, JD Vance. I'm sorry. Or, well, the harm reduction there would be the lowest voter turnout possible. What if it wasn't Vance? Well, I don't know. I guess we'll have to see. A lot of stuff can change in the next 2 years. Great way to go after disaffected voters. Yeah, do the vote shaming, or like the preemptive vote shaming 2 years before the primary, is pretty crazy. I'm not gonna lie. That's a pretty interesting strategy. Like, no, like, you're like just anything that puts you in a position where you have to defend Gavin Newsom, a wretched piece of shit.